see an ever-changing news and computer terminology. Commodore news. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Hello, and welcome to episode 232 of Zapped to the Past. I am your host, Adrian Mills, and I am, as always, joined by my good friend and blessed burly brother, Graham Raddings. This week, we branch out from the magazine Zap 64 and Commodore Force, which we are, of course, in no way affiliated with, and dive into the sweaty, steroid-infused world of 80s burl. Yes, the 80s were a time of greed and individualism, but also a time of bulging biceps, thunderous thighs, and gigantic glutes. At the centre of all this testosterone-fueled madness were those two titans of 80s cinema, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. With each film released, the audience's desire for sweaty man meat grew ever more feverish, and these two slabs of prime man flesh were there to sate it. But who provided the most burl for your buck? Who served up the best bicep curl and bulging vein? Who filled the cinema screen with so much man muscle that not even Cinemascope could cope with it? In this episode, we look at the films released from 1981 to 1989 from both of these hunks and dare to ask the question, who was the burliest of them all?
You were borderline going towards like being a wrestler, and and that leads me to a certain point, right? So we're stepping aside from the burly world of wrestling. That's a whole different debate.
That's a whole different kettle of burl.
That's all burl. It is a different kettle of burl, and we're not talking about that. So just in case someone goes, well, there were wrestlers and they were really muscly. Yeah, there were. There's bodybuilders as well. Of course, Schwarzenegger particularly started kind of the whole bodybuilding thing off with Pumping Iron, which is a film where he talks about the pump and all of that, and how it's to him it's like coming, is what he says, which is gross, and puts him at the gym in a whole different perspective. Anyway, it's by the by. Of course, Lou Ferrigno is also in that, and he interestingly isn't in this list, even though he is in a couple of films. I don't think they're in that time period. So the reason we picked those two is because they were the kind of they were the burly king and king, weren't they? At that time, they were out burling each other. Prolific filmographies. I mean, that's a lot of films. There's 20 films in a 10-year period. I mean, that's crazy production levels. It's just mad, really, isn't it, when you think about it?
Yeah, indeed. And also, I just want to sort of state as well, there's actually 23. There's three we're not including, sort of thing. And so just to sort of, the three we're not including are Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Jane Mansfield story, which was 1980, for reasons that are obvious. We're also not including Escape to Victory. Stallone was in that, 1981. Clearly, that's a film about prisoners of war. Burly's not it's not there, is it? And the other one we're not looking at is Rhinestone, which is 1984 with Sylvester Stallone, which is the Dolly Parton make Sylvester Stallone sing, which we thought just didn't fit into this in any way, shape or form.
No, that's it's an unusual pairing. I mean, to be fair, they're not. I mean, it's the 20 that we've got are the kind of the key 20, really, I think. So I don't think they would have added anything to it, would they? I mean, Arnie is a big fella. But then so is Stallone. He's no slouch, is he? So, no. So interesting, and they both had pre-80s burl a little bit. Well, more Stallone really, but with the Rocky films and stuff. So I think the person who's probably been at the burl counter eating burly sandwiches for longer is probably Stallone, really, in terms of the filmography.
Yeah,
Arnie came into it a bit later, didn't he? And then kind of just sort of stepped into that sort of burl rivalry, as it were. They're both having big sandwiches, and they were both ordering beef. And that makes me think of, actually, one of the films in this list is probably where the idea of, because in the Terminator, somebody says, who ordered the burly beef?
The burly beef.
Yeah, exactly. We've always associated that statement with burliness. And it's nothing about it in the film. She just asked that question because someone's ordered us a meal that's called the burly beef. So they even have a burly meal in the Terminator, which gives it a kind of burly advantage, doesn't it? But it's not actually part of the overall oeuvre of the film. The Terminator doesn't come back through time and demand a heavy sandwich at any point, as far as I remember.
No, he
but
does not.
Interesting. And these were big budget films, generally very well received on the whole. I've watched them all for this as well, which was some undertaking, let me tell you. And some of those films are absolutely crap. And let me just say this, awful soundtracks on some of these. Some of them have got amazing soundtracks, Conan the Barbarian and things like that. There are some that are not so good. They really are.
No.
And some
not.
are very dubious end credit title songs as well. Very dubious.
Yep.
So
the music of the 80s is either quite but just terrible, most of it. Just awful.
Yeah.
Just terrible. I mean, one of the films we'll look at sort of thing, Stallone actually said afterwards that if he hated the music that was done for it, and it shouldn't have been that one, and it should have been a more made for the film. But it was it just went, didn't it? I mean, people didn't care. But interestingly as well, we're going to get onto your burl rules in a moment.
Yes, I did try to establish some kind of semblance of rules.
Yeah, so your sort of analysis of how we need to sort of look at these films in a sort of scientific way. But before we do that, I actually went and hunted down the budgets and the gross for each of these films. 20 films, 10 for each, 10 for Stallone, 10 for 10 for Arnie. Stallone. I can't remember what I just said. 10 from both. And weirdly, the budgets were a lot less for Arnie's films. A lot less.
They are, and I'm assuming where you've got the gross, obviously, revenue here, that's in millions as opposed to $68. Because that doesn't seem like seems like a very low amount for a
Conan the Barbarian cost $20 and we brought in 68.
It cost $20 million to make. It's 68. Yeah, it's in the millions.
So I'm not going to go through them bit by bit. I'll sort of point out some of because the films we're going to look at. Okay, we've got Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer, Terminator, Red Sonja, Commando, Raw Deal, Predator, Running Man, Red Heat, and Twins. That's Arnie's list.
That's Arnie's list, yeah.
Nighthawks, Rocky III, First Blood, Rambo First Blood Part 2, Rocky IV, Cobra, Over the Top, Rambo 3, Lock Up, and Tango and Cash is Stallone's 10 from the 80s. Yeah, even just saying all them sort of thing, I can feel like a bicep twitch. It's like I reckon at the end of this sort of thing, we're going to be a bit more toned.
Yeah, well, you will. And that's what a warning really should go out for the listeners of this podcast.
Yeah, if you might get hair in your ears. Toned, then, if you like your body as it is, probably you might want to turn this off because you are going to feel your body respond to the burliness in this episode. You're not going to be able to help it. It's just going to
happen. This is an oral steroid, isn't it? As opposed to an oral steroid. This is Wisterol for you. This is like podcasting Wisterol, which is a famous steroid, in case you didn't know. And so, so don't go doing any, by the way, don't do steroids, kids, and all that stuff, bad for you.
No, don't.
But, but this is kind of like a steroid injection, straight to your ears, directly to your brain, right in the brain hole. And, good. You'll feel good.
It is. But, okay, so the total budgets for all Arnie's films over that period, and I was surprised it was so low, was 167. I'm trying to work this out. Yeah, $167 million.
Yeah, it's not a lot, is it?
That's not a lot. Slides was 280.
That's less than the budget of Titanic.
Yeah. So in those kind of days, I mean, Conan was 20, Conan the Destroyer 18, Terminator was 6.4 million.
Cheap.
His most expensive film is Red Heat. That was 29 million.
Wow.
For the budget. Okay.
There is a lot of Red Heat in that. So.
There is. Sly's, on the other hand, Sly's biggest budget was Rambo 3. That was 63 million.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sly's overall budget is 284, which that's more than 100 million more was spent on Sly's films. But the surprising thing that I found, because my understanding was that Arnie was the king of the, everyone, Arnie
king of the action movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Arnie's films those 10 films brought in 674 million at the box office.
Okay.
Stallone's brought in $1,377 million. That's twice as much.
Wow.
It's all down to Rambo and Rocky.
Yeah.
And you cannot underestimate the appeal of those two characters in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Between those two characters in the 80s, they brought in $1 billion.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah. Mad, isn't it? Yeah. I was surprised when I sort of just hunted these strats down because I did not expect that.
Well, you'd be surprised to know this, Adrian, but the cinema didn't make Rambo. I did. You can eat things that make a billy goat. Puke.
Yeah,
puke,
cinema
Adrian.
popcorn.
Yeah, true. By the bucket load, yeah. Absolutely.
It's just, But yeah, anyway, there you go. Some stats. I always like a bit of stats in these things.
Yeah,
so it's always
crazy.
good to
That
have
is
them.
mad. Bloody. I mean, and also if you look at that, even the return on investment there, 167 million to the 675. You're not making a great deal of more on there. Whereas, the Sly's return on investment is quadruple, isn't it? It's crazy. It's more than that.
Slightly a bit more, yeah.
But
so
bonkers. Wow.
Sly was the bigger box office draw of the 80s, which I didn't think was the case.
Crazy. And just on this, you got every dollar spent made $4.04 essentially.
Yeah, what that means is basically what. So for every dollar that was spent on an Arnie movie, it made. So it was $4 made back. So that's what. Okay. So that's the sort of profit on a Stallone. So it's basically $4 on a Stallone film. For every dollar that was spent, it was $4.8. So if you wanted if you wanted an investment, your investment was better to back on Sly because your film was probably going to make especially the Rocky or Rambo's.
Yep, and there's an interesting factor in there as well. On the whole, although it's not listed here, on the whole, Sly's movies are shorter by about 10 minutes on average than Arnie's movies are, which means they probably got one more screening in at a multiplex
they did that.
Because of that.
Yeah. I was reading that about, what was it I was reading that about? It was Cobra, I think. Cobra was originally over 2 hours long.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah, but when they just came in,
they
came in and just re-edited it, which I read in the thing which says, means it makes no sense. There's loads of continuity errors and nothing makes any sense. But they edited it down to 87 minutes so they could get another screening in at the cinema.
Maybe they watched Raw Deal and thought, do you know what? That makes very little sense anyway. Let's just cut bits out at random. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares.
Yeah, no one cares.
No
one cares.
Out of all of this, the one film that annoyed me with the clothing was that one. Because it's just like, if you're going to wear a suit, wear matching trousers for the suit. He only does it once out of at least 4 suits. It's in Raw Deal. It's just like, somebody give him, and Arnold, by the way, Arnie should never wear like brown leather brogues or Oxfords. It just looks weird on his massive man feet. It's just, his feet are too burly for those kind of shoes. It doesn't work. Does not work.
True.
Goodness.
All true.
Anyway, we'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, that's the facts.
Yeah.
They're the facts, aren't they?
They're the facts. They're the box office
we
facts.
wish they weren't, but they are.
Yeah. So we're going to go through the films in chronological order as well.
Yeah.
So it might be they're not going to be a Sly Arnie because that's not how they're released. We're just going to go through them as they come. We just think that's just the easiest way rather than trying to sort of do one against the other. And it's not that. It's basically, I'll tell you what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to hand over to you, Graham, so you can explain the factors that will be leading into our scoring of each film.
Yes. So first off, what we've got to decide really and define is what we mean by burly and burliness or burl. Well, burly is an adjective and that describes a person, usually a man, maybe not as much these days, who is large, strong and heavily built. So that rules Gary out immediately. All three of those. He's none of that. None of it. He's a little muscly whippet, isn't he? No. It carries a sense. I'm just trying to be kind. It carries a sense of solid muscularity rather than fat, which is something that in Raw Deal he picks up on immediately, doesn't he? When he says that to his wife, who's for some reason a drunk making a cake at the beginning. Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Let's not go there.
Anyway, so it says rather than fat, a burly bouncer, a burly lumberjack. It derives from Middle English burly, which means stately or stout. So there you go. So in Middle English, Middle England, it's like, this man is very burly, which some people would say, is he ill? Because, maybe he had a cold. Anyway, to burl, though. Burl. Well, but I thought burly, but no, it's not. Burliness is the actual, the turn of phrase for that. Burl is a noun, and it has a couple of meanings. In a woodworking, it's a rounded, knotty outgrowth on a tree. Caused by stress or injury. I didn't think that. I didn't know that. When cut and polished, the swirled grain, burlwood or burwood, is British. It's British kind of thing. It's prized for veneers and turned bowls. And then I thought I've seen a lot of burly bowls. So there you go. And then I thought, is Burly Bowls the name of an actor? Because it probably is, isn't it?
It's Stan Bowles' brother.
Maybe they live in Istanbul. Never mind. Istanbul, that's perhaps where they all go to retire. Anyway, in textiles, it's a small knot, lump or slub, which was a word I'd never even heard of. Or yarn, or slub. or cloth. And it's a verb to burl, which means to remove those imperfections, finish fabric. That's informally in Australia, and this is something our Australian listeners, of which we have many, and in New Zealand, that's in Australia and New Zealand, to give it a burl means to have a go or attempt something. So burl is literally nothing to do with burliness, but we're going to utilize it that way because it could be done that way, couldn't it? It's a bit of wordplay.
Yeah. I think you understand
can you describe someone that is burly as having burl? No, not in standard English, you bloody can't. Don't ever try again, Adrian.
Well, we're going to do it a lot.
We are
tonight.
We're going to do that. We're doing it. We're making our own rules. Words can be co-opted, and you know what? When we co-opt it, we're taking it on. We're having it because it's just nobody refers to a bit of cloth as a burly cloth or whatever. Anyway, burl refers to the growth on a tree, like it says. It's an abstract noun for being burly is burliness, not burl. But we're going to have that. We're having it. Okay, that's fair. It does say that obvious wordplay. You know, he has a bit of burl about him, and most listeners would probably infer we meant burliness from the resemblance to burly, rather than he has got knotted wood, which might
he's got a bit of a knotty woody outgrowth.
And I don't think any of our Australian listeners are going to get confused with us saying have a go. You know, he's going to have a go. He's going to give it a bit of burl. We're not. You know what we're talking about here. Now, let's talk about those burliness factors then in these films. So
go for it.
I was trying to explore how we were going to score the films on their burliness. So there are some factors. There's the overt burliness factors, the load-bearing beams, as we like to refer to these as. So these are musculature on display, that's raw muscle mass, and how much of the film foregrounds it. Flexing, pumping, size of the frame, your amount of muscle axis. That's what that could be. There's physical action volume. How much of the action is brawn, fists, grappling, hauling, melee versus finesse. Burly favours brute contact over choreography or gadgetry. Very important. Mm-hmm. Firepower heft, the physical weight of the arsenal. A minigun or RPG is burlier than a pistol. It's about mass, not lethality.
Yeah.
Environmental grit. Jungle, prison, Siberian snow, wilderness, survival, hardship and dirt adds burl. Yes, it does. And then we've got sub-burls, Adrian, for this, okay?
You've got two more, yeah? You've got the destruction scale.
Sorry, I didn't say
the vocal
destruction, yes, the destruction scale. Bodies, explosions, property demolished, sheer physical consequence of being too bloody burly in any environment, isn't it, that? And then the final one is the vocal heft. Low register, gravel, grunts, terse delivery, the voice as a muscle.
I don't like that phrase.
Vocal muscles. Okay, scary. He's got good vocal muscles, hasn't he, that guy? Really good. His vocal muscles. So what about the sub-burls, though, Adrian? Those sub-burls. Sweat, sheen, and skin exposure, what we like to call a sub-burl. The sub-burl, by the way, is the hidden grain, like the figure inside burlwood. It's the hidden part of it. It's the sub-burl. It's the sweat. It's the glistening oil torso. It's the torso out. Costume minimalism, tank tops, bare chests, headbands. It's a burl amplifier because less cloth means more visible mass. And that's an equation you can write down for the rest of your life.
Einstein is spinning in his grave.
Less cloth means more visible mass. Yes. Stoicism, Adrian, and pain tolerance. They're the signs of a sub-burl, if you notice that. The strong, silent quotient. Enduring torture without complaint is burlier than quipping through it. Now, you see, they don't get quite the balance right there. Self-reliance, Adrian. One man carrying the load. Literally, a wounded comrade, a wheel of pain in Conan's, maybe. And narratively, solo versus an army. Well, a lot of, both have got sort of guilty of films like that. Feats of raw strength, arm wrestling, lifting, pushing, carrying. Over the top is almost pure strength featuring burl with very little else. So there's just an example of where sub-burl comes in as a factor. Grunt to dialogue ratio. Physical vocalization over articulacy. I think we can both agree that that's quite important, especially with some of the robotic dialogue that poor old Arnie has to deliver in films like Raw Deal again. Rugged face. That's scars, stubble, jaw, and weathering. You remember them. Pretty sure we've been out with those four. Oh, stubble. Get 80 a pint while you're at the bar. Where's weathering? Attraction as a multiplier, not a base. Magnetism amplifies existing burl, the rugged protector appeal, but can't manufacture it. I treat it as a coefficient on the physical score rather than its own pillar. I think we can all agree on that. And finally, with the sub-burls, we have earnest emotional burl, the protector instinct, the gentle giant with a big heart, twins over the top. A quiet dimension, this, but it's what separates burly from merely thuggish, isn't it? That little bit of earnest emotion. You can't just be pure, can't function without that, can you really? Anyway.
Commando's another good one for that.
It is. So that's the overt burlers, the load-bearing beams, Adrian, and the sub-burls, the hidden grain, the figure inside the burl, the inner thing. Now, but there are anti-burls. These are the dilutants, Adrian, that pull the score down. The tech and gadget dependence. The more the hero wins by device rather than body, the less burly. And this is interesting tension in the Terminator, where the physique is maximal, but the character is a machine. So the burl is uncanny rather than human. It's the uncanny valley of burl, Adrian. Have we ever thought we'd be in this conversation? Ever.
No. Nope.
Wit over brawn and slick grooming. Tango's Armani suits and the stockbroking are deliberately anti-burl. The film runs on banter and style. So that's an anti-burl, isn't it? A little bit. The ensemble dilution, Adrian. Shared load across a team lowers per hero burl. You've got too much burl in the room, it lowers the burl quotient, doesn't it? Some people might think it increases it. I don't know, but Predator's a good example of that. Everyone's competing for the burl. Where do you look? Where does your burl radar ping? Who knows?
Just pinging everywhere.
In that film, it pings all over. Even the Predator's quite burly when you think about it. Tall, but burly.
All burl.
And then we've got we've got plot convolution. This is the plot axis, and I'd model it as inverse. Burly narratives are lean and linear. Man wronged, man takes revenge. A twisty plot is a plot burl in the woodworking sense, a knotty outgrowth that distracts from the clean muscle of the story. Complexity subtracts. You make a burly plot too complicated, it takes away from the burl because you're focusing on the plot and all the mini plot points. And the films tend to lose their burliness focus, don't they? Their burl focus goes down the pan. And I can think of a few good examples. If you think of the way Raw Deal ends, with a man hugging a cripple who's just learnt to walk again, randomly. Bizarre. Anyway, how do we get all those factors and make it into a score? So one idea is we look at the weighted composite. Roughly 60% of the score is from the overt physical muscle action, firepower, grit. 25% sub-burl texture, sweat, stoicism, strength feat, self-reliance. And a plus minus 15% adjustment from attraction, multiplier up, and anti-burls, plot complexity, text slickness, pulling it down. And I thought about that, and I thought, fuck all that. Let's just do it like 1 to 10.
Yep. We're just going to score on 1 to 10 and just be done.
Just scoring 1 to 10 because it's way easier. Now, from 1, very low burl, 10, all the burl. And we once witnessed something, didn't we, Adrian? We once witnessed a very burly man cascade to the ground holding 2 pints of lager in the middle of a nightclub, chesting. We've talked about it before. He literally landed, and he was a burly man. He landed in a rock club, by the way, landed chest down with his 2 pints. I don't think he spilt a drop of those pints. And he didn't even, all it did was just create a thud sound, which shook the place, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's almost at the peak burl, really, when you can do that and just not, you don't spill your pint, you don't just get up, you don't even think about it. It's just, you just burl out. So there we go. 1 is the minimal amount of burl. And all these different factors, we might talk about the way that they are invested in the plot and all those things, but we're not going to use the weighted composite. We're just going to go 1 to 10.
Too complicated.
10 is all the burl. Yeah, exactly. 10 for the top burl, 1 for the lower burl. And we've even got a little game we'll play later where we can sort of look at another way of thinking about that. But that's how we're going to do it. That makes sense? I think it makes sense.
I think it makes sense. So there you go. Hopefully, you know what we're doing. You know what we're graded on, 1 to 10. It's burl. How burly is the film? What things lead into the burl and what take away from it? And we'll discuss all them. We'll keep it quick and fat. We've got a lot of films to get through. We've got 20. So we're not going to go massively in depth on them sort of thing, but we're going to talk about the burl in them. So, Graham, I think what we need now is a little break. And then we'll come back. We'll get into the first film. And that first film is going to be Nighthawks. Okay, let's get into our first film. And that first film is Nighthawks. This was in April 1981. This is Stallone's first of the decade. Budget at $5 million, grossed $20 million at the box office. It's not a bad return, 4 times its budget. Bad. That's pretty good. Nighthawks it's an odd one though. It's a detective movie. There's a crazy sort of terrorist serial killer running around. It's Rutger Hauer, who's just killing loads of people. He strangely starts off as another actor, then has his face changed. They don't know what he looks like, but Stallone recognizes him somehow in a nightclub, because he's blonde. There's not many blonde-suited men in nightclubs in 1981, I'd imagine, in New York.
I don't think so. I don't know. New York was
I think
quite
there
a
might
crazy
be.
Place. Yeah.
And so it's essentially that. So it's a sort of more of a procedural police detective thing, where Stallone is partnered with Lando Calrissian, Billy D. Williams, in some income cast in there.
You mean Matthew Fox to you and me?
Matthew Fox? What?
That's his character name.
Oh, Matthew Fox. Yeah, okay. No, I just referred to him as Lando Calrissian. He's typecast for me. He's just Lando Calrissian. Anyway, it's Billy D. Williams. But anyway, yeah. So Nighthawks, it's not very burly, is it?
No. I would say it's very low on the burly scale. I didn't see a lot of burliness happen. And I mean, the plot's a bit weird, isn't it? And it has. I mean, first off, the burly name factor. Sergeant Deke De Silva and his partner Matthew Fox. So it's De Silva and Fox, okay? Not mega burly names, really. He's not particularly burly in it. The enemy's not a burly guy. So just based on physicality, the burliness is quite low. No, it's not. This isn't Stallone at his biggest, is it really?
No, and he's pining after his ex, which isn't a burl. That's not a particularly burly factor, a burly action, shall we say?
No,
there's nothing wrong with it, and nothing wrong with being a bit sad. But in terms of what we're looking at, it's not a burl factor. It's an anti-burl. I'd say that counts quite low, I think. And he's basically channeling Pacino in Serpico, isn't he?
Yeah, he is modelling himself on a certain type of performance there. I think you're right. And the plot sort of carries itself as a straight out detective movie, thriller, more than an action movie. This predates the action movies, really. So there is action in it, but it's even then, it's kind of, it's the de facto late 70s, early 80s action. So car chases, perilous things happening on, because James Bond obviously, sets off a lot of the action type mentality for these kind of films. So I think this one, isn't there a sequence in this? And again, because I've seen so many now, they could all be blurring into one big burly mass, but isn't part of this on a cable car, I seem to recall, or there's a cable car part of this? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a set piece, a big set piece, action piece in it, and that's it, I think.
Yeah, there is. But in terms of, raw flesh, raw burl flesh, very low. He's always very low. He's heavily clothed.
Doesn't he cross dresses in this and catches somebody by dressing?
He dresses as a woman in the opening sequence. I think. Although I did like the fact that he's just dragging them by the hair back across the station.
Yeah, but that's how he catches the guy at the end, doesn't he? In the twist, he's like.
He dressed as his girlfriend again. Yeah.
Yeah, and he thinks that it's not him, and then he turns around and it's like ah.
Yeah, and he shoots him with a small gun. There's nothing burly about this film.
No, it's all very low. But does he have a beard in this though? Because
he does.
So there's that. That's a burly. That's a sub burl factor. A bit of beard. That means a bit of testosterone going on. And Rutger Hauer he's kind of a burly man, isn't he? Not burly in the way traditional burly. He's got that sort of throat, sort of that European burl factor. A bit icy, isn't he? A bit cold, and he's got that weird stare going on. But he does have very flowy hair. Very flowy hair. They all have flowy hair, actually. The hair is flowing.
Yeah, it's a holdover, isn't it? It's coming in from the 70s to the early 80s, so it's that kind of style. You'll see the style change through these films.
Yeah, Lando Calrissian. No, he's no burly man, is he? He betrayed Han Solo, for goodness sake. Can't trust him.
No, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't rate this very highly. This would be a 2 at best for me.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I think on the burl scale, we're going into 2. I think it's very low. It's not very burly. It's not very burly plot, not very burly action. It's too early for burl. It's early burl, but it's not, it's the early burl doesn't get the worm, does it, in this instance?
No, it does not. I might even give it a 1 because I'm actually trying to think if there's any burl in it.
I'm thinking 2 because it's got Rutger Hauer and he's got a name. It's quite a burly name, isn't it? Rutger is a burly name.
Rutger is a burly name, I suppose. And Deke De Silva is quite an interesting name. But
and they had detectives, gritty detective movies in that late 70s, early 80s. I mean, remember Dirty Harry kind of just set the sort of the tone for all, and Magnum Force set the tone for all detective movies that have any kind of city burl. And so if you're not gritty like that, then I'm afraid that's you're done. That they're not burly either, particularly. Although Eastwood is quite a burly guy. They're not particularly burly in the traditional sense. So I think it's detective burl, but it's too low.
Yeah.
Look at the competition.
Too low.
I'd give it a 2, just being generous because 1's a bit mean, but it's a 2. I agree.
A 2. There we go. That's Nighthawks. Not that it's a bad film. It's a weird film. You can tell it was, if you read the back behind it, it was a bit messed up, and the Stallone was a bit of an ego on set, which already was for most of the 80s. But it's not a terrible film, but it's just a weird one. It's an odd starter.
It's not very burly.
It's what it is. No, it's not very
not
burly.
Very burly. No.
In counterpoint to our next film, which came out in May 1982, and that film is Conan the Barbarian.
Aye.
Now, this is,
Okay.
Burly.
Well, this is Conan the Barbarian, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Although is it, or is the next one more burly? Because Barbarian is quite burly, but he does wear a lot of heavy sort of, wolfhound cloaks and stuff. There's burl in it. Oh, don't get me wrong. Obviously, Schwarzenegger is massive and burly, and some good.
Yeah, he's super pumped in that.
Yeah, there's some good burly sequences, like the bit where he's pushing the wheel of pain. You've got the sequence in
kills loads of
Gladiator
people.
sequence.
Yeah,
kills loads of people. It's bred to the finest stock. All that kind of stuff. There's the sequence in the caves towards the end where they infiltrate there with all the war paint on. There's the sword flinging sequence where he sort of comes back from the dead and he's doing his sword play on the beach. That's really burly. There's Thorgrim and Rexor.
There is. I mean, they appear in a few other films as well. I mean, I suppose what we should do is just for those that have never heard of Conan the Barbarian, and there might be people that went around.
You can tell the plot on that, yeah. Because I thought
as a boy, Conan sees his village destroyed and his parents killed by the warlord Thulsa Doom. That is a burly name of a bad guy, innit? Come on, Thulsa Doom.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Then endures years enslaved at the Wheel of Pain. That sounds like an amazing nightclub, doesn't it? That sounds like a proper 80s nightclub. Grown, big and grown, into a formidable warrior, he wins his freedom and, with companions including the thief Subutai and the brigand Valeria, wanders the ancient world seeking vengeance. A king, King Osric, whoever it is Osric, whatever his name is.
It's Osric.
Osric enlists him to rescue his daughter from Doom's snake cult, drawing Conan into the heart of the Temple of Set and a final reckoning with the man who slaughtered his people. And on the way, he fights a massive snake. And I don't mean he gets a big hard on either, although he probably does.
Well, yes.
So yes, and he's probably, considering this is his first entry into this list, that he is massive in this film, huge. And I don't mean his acting skills, because they're not so much, but he is a big fella in this. And he was picked for that reason. And he's surrounded by big fellas. So that, there's not so many of them here, but there is a sequence at the beginning where the village is attacked, and they're just attacked by an onslaught of burl. Everything's burly. Even the dogs are burly. The dogs are burly. They've got armor on. Horses burly. The little guy that runs up and sits on a rock, burly. Everything's burly. That village is overcome by its burliness. It's nothing to do with that village.
It's a wave of burl. A wave of burliness.
Burl sweep just hits that village and it overwhelms them. And that woman who is, Conan's mum, who's a very attractive lady in the movie, all said and done, she's just beheaded by the burl. Just burl. Bah, burl. You're not burly enough.
You can't stand before the burl.
Exactly. Nobody in the village is burly enough to compete with the burliness of the burly men. And they're pretty burly in that village. They make their own swords and weapons, and Conan's dad's no slouch. But it's like they're done for. And partly because their housing construction project, which is that village they're in, isn't quite so robust, is it? Just a little bit of fire and it's done. Which sort of makes sense. I mean, but they are, it is. But also, an onslaught of that kind for no reason whatsoever, where they just come and ransack the village and turf everybody out and kill everybody and all the rest of it. It's just, that is a proper execution of full-on burl power. And it happens throughout this movie, actually. There's several moments of pure burl, isn't there? Which is a strong burl factor for this. Yeah. The Wheel of Pain, as you pointed out, burly. The point when he goes into the gladiator fights, burly. The way he finds his sword and kills the dogs, though you don't see that happen. But it's implied burliness, isn't it? Because he wears the dog pelts. Later, he punches a camel in the face. That's a burly thing to do, isn't it? Not many people punch camels.
No. They actually say, don't they? You're too big to be a thief.
Exactly.
He's too burly.
It's too burly. Yeah, and then they don't even have a rope when they go and try and climb a tower because they're that burly. They're going to chew their way in, I think. I'm pretty sure.
Just got so many hands. When they get to the top of the tower, pure marble with their fingertips.
When they get to the top of that tower and look down, who's in charge of that? Another big burly bastard who just points at women and gets them to jump into pits to be eaten presumably by the big burly snake. Even the snakes are burly in this film. It's a big old snake, isn't it? What has happened? The big burly snake meets a bigger burly guy, out-burled. The snake gets out-burled, which later comes back to bite them, doesn't it? Because it turns out Thulsa Doom is also a snake, a burly snake. Really weird. And then, of course, later down the line, you've got other burly encounters. We won't go to all of them, but he gets tied to a tree. He dies. He gets brought back by pure burl, the power of magic burl. He's brought back.
Not just a tree, it's the tree of woe.
The tree
That's
of
a burly
woe.
Tree.
Everything in this place has got great names, hasn't it? The Wheel of Pains, the great nightclub, the Tree of Woes, probably the bar down the road. All good. Anyway, cuts, very long story short. Even then, later down the line, Thulsa Doom points at a woman and she jumps off a bloody... What is it with them? Women just jumping off things whenever burly people
You get pointed at.
You there. Ah!
Power of the burl.
Anyway, power is the pure burl energy. Then he entices a guy with his burl, doesn't he? He's so big and well grown, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, he does, yeah.
Can't resist him. So that's just... If you ever doubt the burl, he dresses up in kind of robes as a priest, and even then he's so burly that he attracts the nearest guy to him. He gets a bit turned on. He gets a bit horny, doesn't he, that guy?
Yeah.
And then he goes off and, terminates that guy. And then, and of course, later that leads to the big burly sequences where, they go into the orgy, tips the soup over, doesn't he? Which is not very nice. It's the burly soup because it's full of hands and feet.
But that's a big bowl of soup.
It's a burly bowl. It's carried by 5 burly guys.
Yep.
What flavour of soup have we got tonight? Burly. Oh,
and to burly music.
Exactly. Well, the lyrics make no sense, though. And I'm pretty sure they say, "We are burly." They're singing about carrying burly soup. It's big burly soup, isn't it? Burly tunes, burly soup, a burly orgy. Nobody's having sex. They're just writhing in burl. The burl's secreted from them.
No one can get close to anyone's parts, sort of thing. Because everything's too muscly.
Well, apart from the important parts in that orgy, innit? They're all so many roids that their winkers have turned to little grapes, haven't they? Can't do nothing with them.
That's what I mean.
No, exactly. They've got like raisinets, as they once described in one movie I've seen, which is a very burly movie, but we're years later. So that happens, and then she's brought back from the dead, and then there's the final battle, another burly battle, isn't it?
Where, stones.
Exactly,
yeah.
And then ultimately it ends with the two biggest burls having a burl off, and he beheads the big burly man in a mirror of him getting his mum getting her head chopped off. He goes up there with even more burl than Thulsa Doom, who's got quite a lot of burl and a really straight fringe, and just chops his head off in front of everybody, in front of all the burly crowd. Throws it onto the ground, sets fire to the temple. Burl. All burl. This is a high burl quotient in this film, I would say. I think this is a 9 on the burl scale. It's very burly.
Yeah, you've come
What about you?
me.
Do you think that?
I'm up there as well. There is a hell of a lot of burl. When it is one of those films where you become big and well grown watching it because it's just so burly.
Certain parts of that film definitely make you big and well grown, don't they? If
you watch it and you're like, oh God, there's so much burl. But yeah, I would give this a 9 because it sets the tone. It sets the tone, and it did a lot of stuff in terms of sort of barbarian type films and thing at the time. But he's just massive in it, and there's just so many burly sequences, like you said.
Yes, absolutely right.
Yeah, I go with a 9.
It's a 9. It's Crom's pleased because he got that's a high rating for Conan the Barbarian, but it is a burly bloody movie, isn't it? That.
It really is. Yeah. So there we go. Arnie racing into an early lead there with the first one.
Well, this is the problem, isn't it? Because that is very burly. But you know what? Remember, it's not just about the muscles, and we're trying to establish that because it's important. Because as we're going to find out, there's more to Stallone's movies than just muscles. Important thing.
We'll find out. Let's move to the next one, and it is a Stallone film. We've got a couple of Stallone ones coming up now. We've got the first one, though, is Rocky III, May 1982. So Rocky III, it's another burly one, isn't it? So if you haven't seen the Rocky films, obviously Rocky is Rocky Balboa. The first 2 films are his rise to becoming the heavyweight world champion of the world through fighting Apollo Creed a couple of times. Mm-hmm. Comes from nothing. He's in no way. He's a sort of southpaw slugger from the streets of Philadelphia. He gets his one opportunity, and it's a... And then in the first film, that is, and then the second one, there's a rematch, and he wins. He becomes heavyweight champion. That's where we start Rocky III. Now a wealthy, celebrated champion, grown complacent after easy title defenses, Rocky Balboa is publicly humiliated by the fierce young contender, Clubber Lang, who played by Mr. T. And he's introducing Mr. T as well, this was. When tragedy strikes during their first bout, a devastated Rocky loses both his title and his confidence. His former rival, Apollo Creed, who he was fighting in the first 2 films, steps in to retrain him, rebuilding his style and rekindling his spirit as Rocky works to reclaim the championship.
Yes. And this is with the Eye of the Tiger, isn't it? This is the Eye of the Tiger. Eye of the Tiger. Eye of the Tiger.
Eye of the Tiger Rock. Eye of the Tiger Rock. So this is, a big step up from Nighthawks. The burly strong in this one.
It is.
I mean, it's a boxing movie, so you're gonna have
instantly.
And so all those when we talked about what was one of the parts, it was the physical action volume. How much of the action is brawn versus finesse? Well, I mean, it's finesse fighting, but it's all slugging. It's all heavyweight boxing.
It is.
So that's quite a burly thing. Okay.
Absolutely, it is.
And so there's a lot to this. There's, the opening sequences of this have Rocky just pummeling. There's a montage sequence where he's just pummeling a load of nobodies.
Yeah.
And there's one point sort of thing where he does that punch where he just jumps towards them and smashes them in the side of the head.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure, it's official training, the training manual, that one, but okay.
But he just leaps forward and goes, to the side of the head, which is quite good. And then we've got the Clubber Lang sequences, sort of thing, where Clubber Lang is just destroying people. It's essentially, he's a proto Mike Tyson.
It is very much so. Very much so. Quite interesting how it came to be real, really. That.
Yeah. So if you think of a Mike Tyson, which just, Mr. T in this, it'd be very different to what we would then go on to see him in the A-Team, where he'd become a bit more famous. In this, he's downright sort of mean and nasty and horrible.
He is
and
angry.
And he's called Clubber. That's a burly name.
It's the ultimate burly name, isn't it? Clubber. You can't get away from that. He's a what do you call it? He's an onomatopoeic, isn't he? By definition, he is that. Well, he is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, in this, we've got a club against a rock. These are burl things.
Right, it's like rock, paper, scissors. Rock versus club.
Rock versus club. And so we get these fight sequences, these sort of short montage sequences, lots of burl. Then we get the training, and Clubber Lang's training properly. Rocky is not. He's taking it all at a bit of face.
Don't forget as well, in
between all this, we've got Thunderlips. The ultimate male.
Thunderlips is in this one. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you've got Thunderlips, which is actually, I know we weren't going to introduce wrestlers,
Hulk Hogan.
That was Hulk Hogan, Hollywood Hogan, whatever his name was, Mr. Hogan to you and me, H.
But in a big sort of celebrity fight with Rocky, you have this fight, and he's massive. He's pure burl.
He is absolutely huge. I mean, he is massive for real. He's what is he, 6 foot something crazy, and he's massive in that.
Yeah, when you introduce him, because standing nearly 7 foot tall, they're like, I'm not sure he's that big, but he's massive. He's huge.
I mean, they didn't give him the burliest name with Thunderlips. It would have been better if it was something else. But he is a big burly bugger anyway. We can't get away from that. He is.
Yeah. So the introduction of a wrestler he fights a wrestler, a boxer and a wrestler. That's a burly thing to do.
He does. He gets thrown around like a twig.
Yeah. So then we get to the fight, and he gets his ass kicked. And Clubber Lang is just pure muscle, and Rocky isn't. And then we get the training sequences again. We get the montage. We get the comeback. And it goes a bit more stylish at this point. He gets Apollo Creed sort of dancing moves and stuff, it's sort of light on his feet and things like that.
Yeah.
And then we get the final fight, which, unlike all the other Rocky films, is over quite quickly.
It is actually in this one.
It's 3 rounds. Usually they go for at least 10 or all the distance. So it's an unusual one. But that fight is incredible, and there's so much sweat and bare skin, obviously, because they're boxing and muscles and pure anger and hitting each other. If you want burliness, and it's just, this is a. And don't forget as well, we've got Apollo Creed when he's training him, in the fight.
He's no lightweight burl, is he? He's quite burly.
He's quite burly. So there's a lot of burl in this. I think this is a good comeback from Stallone. This is a proper, he's found his mojo. He's found his mojo again. He's gone back to what he knows.
Yes.
So
yes, absolutely.
I'd score this quite highly.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think there's a few things. There's a few takeaways, isn't there, from Rocky III? They discovered the power of the montage, the burly montage. Okay. No problem, because we're going to come back to that. But they discovered that in this. And I think that sets the tone. Of course, his trainer dies, doesn't he? In that one as well, which is, and so he's there's sadness as well. Remember, the depths of burl are also measured against how the tragedy. So, the tragedy increases the burl, doesn't it?
Like Conan's was revenge for his family being killed,
exactly.
Added to the burl.
And also, one of my takeaways from Rocky III is lots of close-up of angry teeth, isn't there? So you see lots of Clubber Lang with gritted teeth and the mouth guards. I associate with sweaty mouth guards. That's a burly thing to think of in your mind, isn't it? When you see the close-up of angry man's face with a gritted teeth mouth guard and the fist sort of coming back, and then it's then there's all of that in this, and there's a lot of that.
Yeah,
there's a lot of sudden sound surges in Rocky III. There's lots of these sort of sound effects in the montage bits when the punch is hitting. Yeah, every punch you feel in Rocky III, they up the ante. Then the microphones were quite close. They were, I don't know what they used to create those sound effects, but they weren't punching humans. They're like shotguns blasts. All burly. It is a very, very burly film. You can't get away from it. It's about a burly sport. 2 burly people, 3 really, or maybe even more, doing burly stuff. And the training montage that he goes through, because he doesn't train properly, and then he gets back into the Eye of the Tiger. I'll let him off those really, really like tight shorts he wears when he's running on the breach, and that weird crop top that he wears. It's not a good look for Stallone.
And the dancing in the ocean when they're jumping up and down together in the ocean.
Yeah, and the skipping, where he starts skipping and then he just turns it into some kind of crazy thing. But I get it. It was the intensity and all of that. But it's the music with Rocky, it's burly music in it. Trumpets are quite a burly instrument when you think about it. You've got to inflate your cheeks, you've got to blow down them pretty hard. I know Gary's famous for his ability to do that.
Because Conan's soundtrack is all, brr, brr, it's all wind
exactly.
instruments, isn't it? It's all brass instruments.
Brass, timpani, wind. Those are big burly instruments. They're not the flutes. They're not the piccolos, are they? They're not your recorders. I'm sorry to say, if you play those instruments, you're not on the burly chart, are you?
You're not the flamenco guitar.
Is a big thing. Exactly. The violins, all right, but the violas and the cellos, they're the big burly bastard versions of violins, aren't they? So I think. I mean, what are you thinking of scoring Rocky III on the burly scale there?
I'm 8. I'm 8 or 9. I think this is quite a strong one.
I'd say an 8. I'd go with it. I think I'd go. Yeah, 8 definitely. I mean, I'm not going to push it to a 9 because I don't think it's quite there with. And I think there's a burlier film to come from that, but I think an 8's as good a score as any for that. I'd say an 8.
Yeah, 8. Yeah, Rocky III. And it's a great film. Watching it again the other night sort of thing. It still has that bloody power during that last fight to make you go, God, it's him. It's him.
Yeah, it's a more enjoyable film for different reasons than Rocky 1 and 2. Rocky, first one and second one, I really like them. But they are more of a personal tale they're a bit more of a personal tale of a journey of a boxer sort of, training to become a world champion. This one, he is the world champion, and then this new contender comes along, and they've just made it in a very 80s way. The soundtrack's dubious in places, but it is quite good. It's more of a, what happens when the cash is too much and you lose sight of the real reason why you went into a thing, and that's kind of the story of Rocky III. He loses he loses himself in the world of it all. Yeah, exactly. And then his fight is really to claim that back for himself. That's the great thing about the Rocky films is they tend to do that. So yeah, I'd say an 8. Classic film, really. Great. I really enjoyed watching that back.
Yeah, I did as well. That was a good one. With Stallone, though, because he was busy in 1982.
Crazy.
And he was making a lot of money as well, sort of thing, because these two films between them made, on a budget of $32 million for these two, he made $250 back. Quite a lot. So he was bankable at the box office, because his next film in October 82 was First Blood.
Aye. Well, here we are. First Blood. John Rambo, a troubled Vietnam veteran and former Green Beret. Luckily, he didn't get eaten for breakfast by anybody at this point, because you know what we're like in the 80s. Everyone ate Green Berets for breakfast, didn't they?
Yeah.
Drifts into the town of Hope, Washington, where Sheriff Will Teasel has him arrested. Why? Just wants to get a meal, doesn't he? Brutal treatment triggers traumatic flashbacks, and Rambo breaks free into the surrounding mountains. Drawing on survival training, he outfights an ever-growing search party while his former commander, Colonel Troutman, is called in, as petty harassment escalates into a one-man war against the town's authorities. Quite a nice summary, actually, of First Blood. So this film introduces some things into the canon of burliness, and one of those is the big bastard burly knife. So this one brings the burly knife into play. Everyone wanted one of these bloody knives after you'd seen this film. We all wanted the knife that had the little screw cap at the bottom. You took it out, had the compass on the top, and the little survival knife. Survival knives became a thing. Don't go out and buy knives now. It's illegal to carry them in the UK, especially ones of that size. Knife crime's a real thing in the world. Don't do it. Just don't carry knives around. Don't entertain it. It's stupid. However, in the 80s, it was fine. So you could buy knives over the counter at most sort of fishing tackle shops. You could go and buy yourself a survival knife with the biggest blade you've ever seen. And then what you would then probably do, you'd take it back to your bedroom. You'd probably carve a few pencils up with it, stab a couple of things, and then you'd end up throwing it at the wall or throwing it at a dartboard or something.
Showing it to your mate.
Show it to your mate. And then you realise after you'd thrown it at the dartboard a few times that it actually pierced the entire, because it's a big old burly knife. It hadn't just pierced the dartboard. It had gone through the dartboard into your wall. You got knife dints in the wall and a lot of explaining to do, if you're me, particularly. Just saying. But it did introduce that, didn't it? It introduced a few things. So this is where we start to see a deviation, I think, because this is a great story. This is a survival story, but it's not a vengeance story. This in any way, really. This is a Vietnam vet story. It's a tragedy of the Vietnam vets that were coming back and that were either mistreated or misunderstood. A lot of them came back with a PTSD, which wasn't understood at the time. And so they all had lots of trauma. And this is about them trying to fit back into a society that just kind of rejected them and outcast them. And they didn't really, they were sent off to the war at a very young age in Vietnam. Crazy battles out there, horrific war. They didn't really have a chance of really winning in that way. Came back after many years, very traumatized, most of them through all sorts of things, but they couldn't fit back into society. I mean, there's other films that explore this, Born on the 4th of July and amongst many others. But this was the first one that hits home in a number of different ways. It created the character of Rambo, although it's referred to here more less so than it is in later Rambo movies, obviously. but this is where we first encountered the idea of Rambo. The first film of the 80s where we encounter the idea of a soldier that has soldier-like abilities. So survival abilities. And he is, it was the first time outside of the arcade Green Beret that I knew what a Green Beret actually was. I'd assumed that they just walked around stabbing people a lot, and they do. But Green Berets, and this is where we sort of first encountered the idea of a super soldier who could outmaneuver and outgun the police, and he could ride motorbikes, and he could do anything, and he could climb, and he could survive falls, and he even stitches his arm up in possibly the burliest sequence of all time. Guy jumps from a helicopter, jumps off a cliff, lands on a load of trees, really badly injures his arm, for real as well, because that stunt actually went wrong for real, didn't it, in the real world? The stuntman was horrifically injured. But anyway, in the sequence of the film, he cuts his arm open. What does he do? Breaks out his survival knife. We all wanted one. Takes out the stitch, the thread and the needle, and sews his bleeding arm all up. That is Burly. That's the Burly in it right there. Super Burl.
I'd say there's a burlier self-medicated sequence coming up in a later film. But
yeah, I'm just saying that this is the first encounter.
But this one is pretty. But this is pretty burly for the time. Yeah, 1982.
Yeah, I mean they try and smoke him out of a cave. They blow it up with a lot of you've got the army
they fire
chasing
a bloody
him.
rocket launcher at him.
And so they're chasing him through the woods. There's an amazing sequence here where he night burls them, doesn't he? They're all out there trying to hunt him down with dogs and everything. But no good. It's no good. They, in the complete opposite to Conan the Barbarian, where they try and smoke the village out with these armored dogs. They go into the woods, try and track him down with dogs. What does he do? He stabs them with his bloody big burly knife. You're no match for my burly knife. And then he traps them all with like fiendish traps, doesn't he? One of them he pins up against a tree. The other one he sort of stabs in the legs with like a makeshift trap that he'd done. And and he gives, don't push it is what he says, doesn't he? He holds that knife up to his throat and he's dressed like a tree.
Yeah.
He's dressed he's dressed in burl, literally dressed in the burl, isn't he, of the tree?
Yeah, the knotted wood.
He does. He goes to the knotted wood, doesn't he? And survives in there. He's in amongst the burl, literally.
Yep.
And you don't get much burlier than going to the burl wood, dressing like burl, and then out burling people with your burly knife. That's pure burl. That's like sauce. That's drinking from the sauce. In Tron, that's what it's like. It's when you drink from the sauce, that's what it's like. He drank from the burl sauce. I mean, he even throws a rock at a helicopter and manages to kill somebody inadvertently by throwing it at the window of the helicopter. Not only is that a good shot, but it's also really hard to do. So, yeah, all fair credit to him. He is pretty burly in this. And then he does do the famous one man with the big machine gun thing in this, doesn't he? And that is kind of like, that sets the standard. That's the beginning, I think the first movie we come across where man stands with big machine gun and the
M16 in it. It's got the M16 and it's just
and his muscles are shaking and flexing, and it's he's got the bullets, the bullet belt machine gun, and he's shooting all that sheriff's office up and everything else. He's already blown the petrol station up for no reason whatsoever. There's a lot of petrol stations and petrochemical places get destroyed in these movies for no reason. And this one, he just blows up the town's petrol station.
Early explosions.
Boom. But he just takes his revenge out on the town, doesn't he, that rejected him. But it's more about the society that's rejecting him. He's angry about that. And they're called Troutman, and of course, Troutman is not very burly, but his conversation is very burly, isn't he?
He's wordy burl.
He is. He just comes up and he frightens everyone with his burly words. He's just like, he can eat things that make a billy goat puke. You better have a big supply of body bags. It's like he's full of joy.
Yeah.
So Troutman is like purified burl. He's like liquid burl, and he comes and sprays his burl just sprays it on the situation, and just little burly outcrops just grow. Little burly negative outcrops.
He's a burl spouter.
Yeah, and of course, by the way, and this is a weird thing. A sound effect from First Blood, which is where one of the younger guys gets stabbed in the leg in the early sequence, was actually used for the go part in Golden Axe. I don't know if you know that. So that sample where it goes go when you're encouraged to go in Golden Axe, that's from First Blood. There you go, little trivia nugget. Anyway, burly quotient high, not as high as Rocky, I don't think, because it's a different kind of film. There is burl, military burl, which is good, and it does have that burly knife.
One man against the army burl, though, as well.
One man against, there is that, of course. But it's not an army. They're only police officers. Well, the army are brought in, aren't they? What do you call it? The
National Guard are brought in, I think, yeah.
Where did you score this? I'm interested in this because I don't know where I am now.
7 to 8, I think, was where I landed on this. Because because I think if you go too high early with these, you've got burlier Rambo films to come.
Yeah, I had this as a 7 originally, and I think I'm going to stick to a 7. And that's only because it's losing 3 burl quotient marks there because of it's not it doesn't end in a Burly way. It actually ends with him, crying in the arms of Troutman and being led off. And yes, it's destroyed the village, the town of Hope, such as he's blown up a petrol station and destroyed a shop. And then he blows up the sheriff's office. So I think it's not in that devastating tradition of where these films do go. It's the first one of those. So I'd say a 7, I think. A safe 7.
A bit reluctant Burl. Almost.
Yes. Well, that's exactly the right tone. Yes, reluctant Burl. Yes, 7.
He's got Burl. He don't want to use it, but he's forced him to use it. So it's like...
He's got Burl, and he knows how to use it.
It's a ZZ Top song you never wanted.
It's Burl Top, yeah. ZZ Burl. They are quite burly. They've got big burly beards, ZZ Top.
They've got big burly beards. Yeah, that's about it, really, isn't it? There we go. First Blood, 7. Yeah, I think that's about right. So good scores. Good scores there for a couple of Rocky films. We're back with Stallone, though, now.
Oh, okay.
In Stallone's only sequel, I guess, isn't it? For this period, the only sort of returning character
only one in this 10-year slot. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, everything else is different from.
Well, no, I suppose no, because you've got Rocky as well.
No, from Schwarzenegger, I mean.
Oh, from Schwarzenegger,
yeah. So everything is, everything is different for Schwarzenegger going on. But this is Conan the Destroyer. Okay, so Conan the Destroyer. What is about Conan the Destroyer? Queen Tiramisu promises to resurrect Conan's lost love, Valeria, in exchange for escorting her virgin niece, Princess Jenna, on a quest for a magical gem and jeweled horn.
I bet he wants that jeweled horn.
Joined by the thief Malak, wizard Akiro, and warrior Zula, Conan sets out unaware of the Queen's hidden intentions. The journey pits them against a powerful sorcerer, and when the true purpose is revealed, Conan must fight to save the princess and defeat an awakened monster. Okay, so in terms of Burl, I mean, I think Schwarzenegger is bigger in this film. He looks bigger than he
is big in that.
And the film does it basically. Whereas with Conan, there's a lot of burly sequences, and I think the sequences in Conan are more burly. This one focuses the burl on him because it basically puts him in a loincloth for the entirety of the film.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
and I think that. Whereas in the Barbarian, he's covered in furs and wolfhounds and tunics and stuff like that, armor and stuff like that. So it's the skin quotient is low. This though, the skin quotient is high because he is basically just walking around, like I said, in a pair of fur boots and a loincloth.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's it. That's what he's wearing, which, accentuates the burl of his physique. But that's that's all this film has really going for. There's a couple of sort of supplemental characters that are quite burly. We could class Grace Jones as a burly female, but she's more lithe and kind of that kind of Valkyrie style.
Yeah.
But there is Mombasa. Mombasa is quite a big dude. He's quite a burly, big old dude, isn't he?
He is. And there's also 6'7", isn't he, as well? Massive.
Yeah. And there's also Pat Roach.
You can't rule out the Roach, can you?
He's a burly wizard in this, though, isn't he?
He's burly in everything.
He's just a burly wizard in this, though. He's like,
British
come
burl.
to me, my darling.
He's a bit of, is he from Bristol as well? So he's a bit of Bristol British burl. That's triple B. That's a triple threat.
Triple
triple B. Triple B.
Triple B. I heard that for a while.
We had one of them for ages, haven't we?
We had a triple tree for a while.
Triple B.
There it is. Good old Pat Roach brought back the triple B. But I think that in terms of where Conan goes strongly with it, it's kind of overall, everything's burly. The rest of the film, I think, of this is quite weak. The enemies aren't particularly strong, like that opening sequence where he fights that village of small people. By the looks of it, they're just rubbish.
Yeah, they are rubbish.
Who are they? Sort of thing. There's no real big, there's no real big burly fights. There's the one against Mombasa a bit towards the end, but the film is lacking in burly content, I think. Yes. Where do you land with this? Because
I agree.
I always struggle to think anything positive about the Destroyer. I always do.
Yeah, because the two main enemies, three main enemies, like you say, you've got Mombasa, whatever his name, Bombata, is it? Mombasa, whatever his name is.
It's Bombata, not Mombasa.
Bombata, I was thinking it was Africa Bombata then, but wasn't he a rapper? Anyway. But you've got the Queen character is more lithe Queen, isn't she? Isn't it her out of Superman 2? Isn't it Ursa out of Superman 2 that plays the Queen?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So she's in there, and she's always a bit snooty, I thought, and a bit rude. And then the main baddie in between, the middle, of course, is Pat Roach, the Triple B. And then at the end, you've got Dagoth, which is just a big, massive horned snot, isn't it? It's just crap.
Yeah.
It's crap. It's crap. When it wakes up, you're like, oh, it's got a sideways opening mouth, and he just rips its horn off. It's crap. It's crap.
Yeah.
It's a crap enemy. It wasn't very good dag-off.
Yeah. And it also undermines the burl with the stupid comedy bits.
Yes, it does.
That the addition of that thief guy, whatever his name is, Malak. Malak. It just undermines all the. He's no Subutai. Subutai was goddamn cool, in Barbarian. Malak is just an annoyance.
Yeah, he is, and he just comes up with silly lines, and he's literally the comedy sidekick as opposed to Subutai, which wasn't. No, it's the bit where he sort of stands on the monster at the end, and you get that sort of second overture sequence. Also, the music is a poor imitation of the Conan. It's not as good. No, it's not.
So for me, the Burl quotient. It is all around Arnie in this. Yeah. It's this single thing, and he doesn't really do much with it because it's a poor film.
Exactly. And the one thing it doesn't say in that little blurb we've got there is about that dead annoying kid in it. Or is that in the other one? Is that Red Sonja?
No,
that's in.
That's Red Sonja.
Yeah. So I told you I get
they all
mixed
blur
up,
into one.
They do. But yeah, I'd say Conan the Destroyer, apart from Schwarzenegger himself and his physique, not a lot of Burl in there. It's actually a bit silly. And some of the effects in it are utter shit. They really are.
Yep.
Awful. And the story's stupid as well. So, yeah, I think it's not, apart from, you've got one Burly thing, haven't you, really? I know the Triple B's in there, but he's not, that doesn't save it. Does it?
It's middling, isn't it? Because you can't knock Schwarzenegger's Burl.
No, I think because of that, I'd put it right in the middle of giving it a 5 for me, but I don't know what you would give it.
Yeah, I think a 5 is where I landed with that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I just don't like that film either.
No, it's not great. It's such a shame. It should be so much better than it is.
Yeah. So let's move on. We're still with Schwarzenegger. And next up, 1984, we've got The Terminator.
Well, this one, I mean, goodness me. 1984 Los Angeles, this was. A cybernetic assassin is sent back from a machine-dominated future to kill Sarah Connor, whose unborn son is destined to lead humanity's resistance. The soldier, Kyle Reese, is sent to protect her and reveals the coming war against the AI Skynet. As the near unstoppable Terminator hunts them across the city, Sarah and Reese run, fight, and improvise in battle to safeguard the future itself. Great story. Schwarzenegger is all the Burl in this. I mean, it's action Burl, but he is the Burl. He is all the Burl in this because there isn't a lot of other Burly stuff, but there is Burly actions from other characters in this, isn't there?
There is. I would maybe there's a point to be made here, sort of thing about one of the things you put where the plot could get in the way of the Burl, though.
Yes,
the plot is more important. The plot of the story to this is more important than the Burl.
It is. And remember that Arnie actually wasn't the original choice for the Terminator. For that. And so the casting of him as the Terminator as this giant, he wasn't originally a giant sort of bodybuilder sent from the future. The original guy that was to be the Terminator was, what's the guy's Bishop in Aliens, that guy.
Oh, what, Lance Henriksen?
Lance Henriksen was the original Terminator choice.
Weird.
From what I've read. And it was later recast as Schwarzenegger. And I think Schwarzenegger kind of talked his way into that by, give me the thing I want to be into. Yeah, I think he just, and I get it. And, now there are questionable choices about Skynet's ability to create people that will blend into the past, I feel. Sending a giant bodybuilder naked into the 1984 maybe wasn't the smartest move for an AI. I mean, the AIs being what they are, as we know, ChatGPT would probably have done that. Claude, I don't know. But how burly is it? Well, let's say on the burly factor. So he does burly things. He is burly of character. He uses big weapons. He shoots people. But in most of this film, you don't really see a lot of the Terminator in actuality. You see his physique at the start, and then he tries to disguise himself as a punk, I guess. And then, then he's basically, you just see him then hunting down, and you see him in sort of small sequences of him hunting or shooting people until the point when he actually finds Sarah Connor, and then the chase begins. Mm-hmm. This is a long chase movie. And then Kyle doesn't do a lot of stuff until he is revealed in the movie. So when all 3 points, when Sarah Connor and the Terminator and Kyle Reese meet in the nightclub, which is the Tech Noir nightclub in that amazing sequence, it has to be said, it is genuinely amazing. That's when the film explodes outwards. That's when the Terminator starts shooting people at random with his submachine gun and the whole sequence. And then from there on, it's like a big long chase movie where it only really becomes burly actually at the end of the process when they actually finally confront each other again. Up until that point, it's not really that burly. He doesn't do a lot of burly things. Does he? Not like he lifts and throws a car into space or gets a load of people. No. And, he doesn't do a lot of indiscriminate killing. Once he's got the list of people, he just kills the people on the list, and you only really see a couple of them. He doesn't do a lot of burly stuff. Later down the line, when you realise he's a robot, obviously that's slightly different. But even then, I don't think that makes it burlier. I think you're exactly right. I think it actually takes away from the burl. His burl melts away and he's a robot underneath, isn't he? A skinny little skeleton. Not a big muscular dude, is he then? And I think that takes away from it. So
I would say the
burl,
the police station sequence is where he just walks in and drives in and then
drives his truck in there and then goes and shoots everybody up, doesn't he?
That's quite a burly sequence. That's a close-up, good use of firepower and stuff. But what it doesn't have much in the way of, because it can't have, because he'll just rip people's heads off. There's not much hand-to-hand, up-close melee stuff. So again, while The Terminator is a great film, it's not a great burly film.
No, it's not. I'd say it's quite low on the burly scale, and I would say probably lower than Conan the Destroyer. Yeah, it's a great film, The Terminator, and it's a benchmark film, and they remedy some of that burl quota in Terminator 2, where you bring in another Terminator, and then later down the line, you have so many Terminators in it, like they're up in the burl quota just by having loads of muscular Terminators, AI generated or not. But I think in this one, I actually put this at a 4, because I didn't think it was that burly.
In terms of burl, yeah, I think you're right. Which isn't a comment on the quality of the film itself.
No, Terminator's amazing.
This
is the burl. This is the quantity of burl. The burl quotient is 4. I agree.
Yeah. All right, that's Terminator. Moving on, we're back with Stallone, because Rambo's back with Rambo First Blood Part 2. Released from prison for a covert mission, Rambo is sent back to Vietnam to photograph a suspected POW camp. Under orders not to attempt to rescue, when he finds living prisoners and frees one, he is betrayed and abandoned by the bureaucrat overseeing the operation, then captured and tortured. Aided by intelligence agent Cobra, he escapes and wages a one-man guerrilla campaign to bring the prisoners home and settle scores. So pretty simple plot. Rambo is freed, go do this thing, gets betrayed, gets tortured, fights his way out, blows up and kills everyone, and then heads back home for vengeance. So in terms of plot, push that to one side because it's not the important thing. Because that, it's very simple to understand. There's no AI Terminators and who's who and what's that. It's just not about that. This is a pure, it's a revenge. It's another revenge film, betrayed revenge. Based around that. Stallone starts, the film starts off with him breaking rocks.
Yeah, he starts off in a burly way, doesn't it? He's doing burly time in prison.
Absolutely. People go to prisons. Can I go to a burly prison? Yeah, certainly. Sort of thing. What can I do to keep my muscles high? You can break some rocks. Okay, break rocks.
For what purpose? I don't know. Just break the rocks.
Break the rocks.
Just focus on breaking the rocks, buddy.
That's all you got to do. So he's breaking rocks, then he gets called in to go on this thing. When there's the sequence, at this point you're like, okay, he's going to do this thing. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. But there's the sequence where he jumps out the plane. And that's quite burly. He cuts his own cord and he cuts the cord and everything, to save himself. He does all that. He kills when he gets betrayed on the boat. He kills the guys. He just shoots them and kills all them on the boat just because. He rescues the prisoner. He takes the photographs, rescues the prisoner. All going quite low key at this point. Not to underestimate, Stallone's physique, which we get to see.
He's quite amazing in this.
Yeah, he's got the headband as well.
Yeah.
He brings in the headband burl. Because he's got burly hair, so he's got to hold that burly hair back.
He really does. A burly perm, brain.
He's got a burly perm. He's got to hold it in. So he does all that. Then he goes. So he gets captured. He gets betrayed. He's on the corner and he gets captured by loads of the Viet Cong, but also the Russians who come in. The guy who's torturing him, he gets tortured, so that's on the burl factor. And high on the burl factor, he gets tortured. He withstands it, and then no one can hear screaming. There's no quipping through this. He's not quipping his way through this. He's getting electrocuted on a metal bed that's strung up by a big burly guy as well.
He's a big
Stephen
burly
Beerkoff, the other burly guy. Then what happens? He manages to get out. This the woman, Kalmay, whatever her name was, Cobra. She comes and rescues him. He gets out and then just wages all-out war. He at one point he blends into mud and kills somebody. He shoots people with exploding arrows. He gets gets on the back of a. Is it in this one? He gets on the back of the. No, that's in 3, isn't it? When he gets on the back of the Jeep and uses the big gun as well. Because that's 3. But he just wages all-out war on the Viet Cong and on the thing. He steals a helicopter. He rescues all the prisoners. There's a big firefight. gets it down, and then he blows up the thingy with a massive, rocket launcher, which they think they've got him. And then he goes home, and then he walks out, doesn't he, with a massive machine gun and shoots up all the technology and stuff, blows everything up, and then pins his massive combat knife to the table next to the guy's head. Burl. This film is all burl.
It really is. I mean, you're right. So first, my burl takeaways from this are quite extensive, I have to say.
Go on.
So firstly, he has a collection of burl weapons, doesn't he? He's got explosive arrow tips for his bow and arrow. He takes a bow and arrow with him, for goodness sake, because remember, he's meant to be going in and silent, covert
Stealthily,
operation.
yeah.
So give him rocket exploding arrows. That's the thing, I think, to give somebody if they're going in covert. And a camera. It's where he gets the camera and he's like, he's got a burly camera. But he goes in there, full burl. And then after the various sequences at the start where he realizes that there is actually POWs there, great sequence. He comes back, he rescues one, but the helicopter won't land to pick them up. It gets sent away and the mission's aborted and he's betrayed. Then the shit's going to hit the fan. Then he gets captured, escapes, all in a burly way. Like you said, he's tortured, burly. Even, part of all of the factors, so one of the sort of hidden burl factors in here is the amazing Rambo music. So the music and the sound effects go, every now and again it goes, dun, 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 dun. You get this great Jerry Goldsmith score. Amazing. And so that matches all of his actions, when he stands there and this guy's shooting at him and all the bullets are going to miss him because he's bulletproof. And he just stands there slowly drawing back his arrow. And then you hear this like noise and he fires it and then he just blows a guy to pieces with it. He literally blows a man to smithereens with his rocket arrows. And then, just when you think there can't be any more burl in this film, which is already pretty burly, he's got because I think the woman's in it, isn't there as well? And he's kind of a sort of semi-love interest. She gets killed, doesn't she?
She dies, yeah.
And then he's in a helicopter, and then just when you think that the film can't get any more burly, another even burlier helicopter appears.
Helicopter.
The Russian helicopter is the burliest helicopter of all time.
It's the Roy helicopter.
It absolutely is. I mean, it makes them little gunships look like little pipsqueaks. This giant, I think it's a Hind, isn't it? The helicopter. It's massive, with all the weapons. It makes Airwolf look like a little cub. There's more guns and turrets and weapons on this thing than you can possibly imagine. And he's got that little tiny one, hasn't he? That little Gazelle type helicopter with a few little mini rockets. And anyway, he manages to outfox that thing and then manages to blow that helicopter up as well in an amazing sequence. Then flies his thing back and then jumps out, like you say, and then machine guns everything up and then stabs his giant knife. The Rambo knife in this one's like at least 3 times the size of the previous knife. It's massive. It's just indescribably huge. It's impractical to have a knife that big. And of course, in the film, he uses that to stab people here and there.
And they also use it to scar his face as well.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a burl on another level. This is, considering this is the sequel to First Blood, which is mad when you think about it. So First Blood Part 2. I'm not sure how that even equates to this, really. It's just the same guy. And a few of the same characters. Troutman's in it, of course, spraying burl again, like he does.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Because he's the guy talking to the treacherous guy in the office going, well, we're not going to rescue him. I told him it's not a rescue mission. You got to go in there. There'll be a lifetime supply of body bags and other things. Burl. I was spraying burl at you with my burl spray. So he does that. But this is high on the burl scale. I'm there is nothing that isn't burly in this film. Everything about it is burly. The way he speaks is burly. What he says is burly. How he says it is burly.
He doesn't speak much.
He doesn't jump out of it. He doesn't jump out of the helicopter. So he goes wrong. He cuts himself out and just basically jumps out of an aeroplane. Essentially, it's just the man is pure burl at this point. His parachute isn't actually a parachute. It just liquid burl just comes out of him. He's wearing a permed mullet. That is like, if you're talking about burl in the 80s, you've got a permed mullet and you have to hold that back with the red thing, like. And that was that amazing sequence, wasn't it, when he was putting all these weapons away, and then he ties the thing of a band around his head and tightens that knot, and the music going and everything. This is a 9 on the burl. This is Richter scale burl. This is epic.
I'd give it, no argument here. I'd give it a 9.
An absolute 9 on that burl scale. It's thinking about it now, and the Rambo series of films, I've actually come to really, really love them all in their own stupid way. They get stupider, they really do. But Rambo First Blood Part 2, I think,
I enjoyed the Rambo
one
films.
Of the greatest films.
Watching them both again for this rewatch, I enjoyed them a lot more than I've seen them in ages. So
exactly, George P. Cosmatos, wasn't it? I think directed First Blood Part 2, Rambo, and it's a
Stallone did.
Yeah, but it's just one of those great action movies. It doesn't need loads of script. It's just it's one of the all-time greats, and it sets a standard. It really sets a standard for which Arnie desperately wanted to try and achieve. And now we'll debate whether he achieved that or not, but Rambo is a 9 without a doubt.
Yeah, no argument there. No argument there. We're back with Schwarzenegger, though, after all that burl, and we're into Red Sonja.
Okay. In the mythical Hyborian age, the warrior Sonja swears vengeance after Queen Gedron has her family killed and her home destroyed. Sounds familiar. Receiving heightened sword fighting skill from a spirit on the condition that no man may have her unless he beats her in fair combat. So stupid. Gedron seizes the talisman, an all-powerful relic that only women may touch, and wields it recklessly enough to threaten the world with cataclysm. Aided by the warrior Lord Kalidor, young Prince Tarn, and his bodyguard Falkov. You can Falkov. Good Falkov, good and proper list. Sonja's journey to Gedron's fortress in the land of Sonja journeys to Gedron's fortress in the land of perpetual night, or Iceland, maybe that is. I don't know.
Maybe.
There she must destroy the talisman and settle her score with the queen before the relic tears the world apart. And in this film, Schwarzenegger plays Kalidor, a supporting role only, despite his top billing on the posters. So he's not even the main character. And it's obviously because it would be Red Conan, wouldn't it, if it was? This is Red Sonja. He plays kind of Conan, though, even though he's called Kalidor. And I think even he would probably trip up and go, am I Conan? I mean, Kalidor in this. It's like, it's kind of Conan, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. So what's your take?
Burliness. Well, we're looking at female burl, which is unusual for this, because we have to put this in a special category, really, because it's not really, it is a, Schwarzenegger is in it, but he's not really the main character. How burly is he in it? Very. But he's not in it all the way through. He's not in it all the time. He's not the main character in it. Outside of that, where are there other burly things? Well, all the main actors in it aren't really that burly, apart from him. And the stuff that happens generally isn't that great. It's actually pretty crap. As the film goes, and there's when he's fighting Red Sonja, which is what's the actress's name?
Bridget Nielsen.
That's it. So and she's a big burly bugger of a woman, isn't she? She's quite burly in her own woman way. But interesting that at this point, wasn't she married to Stallone? I think, or on her way to being.
I think on her way to being. Yeah.
Or was that maybe when they met at some point? So this is pre-Stallone. So obviously burl matching on the app that they went on, which was the equivalent at the time of the burl app. So I don't know. My take on this was that when I watched it, firstly I thought it was crap. Secondly, there's not much burly action in it. And what there is, it's only brought to the table by Schwarzenegger when he's in it. And he's not in it a lot. He's only in it in bits. And he sort of appears and just says a few burly things, acts in a bit of a burly way, but then buggers off.
Yeah, and he wears that stupid red suit.
He doesn't look good in this. It's not a good look for him.
It doesn't look good. It's not. No. This is a poor film on all levels. And I think on a burl scale. And, you've got, like I said, you've got the burl quotient coming down by that stupid kid. Hey!
Yeah.
Hey!
Oh,
hey!
So annoying. Only Spielberg puts kids in his films that are that annoying, generally speaking.
Yeah, but this one is particularly very annoying. And it is a crap film, and it's dirt cheap. It was dreadful as well. On a budget, this cost 18 million, recouped 7.
Ooh, so it's a stinker as well.
Yeah.
No, I'm grading this 1.
Yeah, there's really no burl in it, is there? It's not burly at all.
It's burl free.
We expect more. I'd expect more from where he was. He's top billing. I was expecting more burl. There's just very little of it. The fights are rubbish, really weak. The enemy, the main woman in it. What's Sarah? Not Sarah. Not Sarah Douglas.
She's from Conan, isn't she? She's actually the goodie in Conan.
Yeah. Sarah plays Valeria, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
She's not very
Sandahl
good.
Bergman,
she has to sort of zap. Yeah, she has to zap around at the end with that stupid wizard.
Oh, it's so... yes. It's crap, that film. It's really crap.
What it does have, and I'll give that... There are 2 parts in this of genuine, maybe go, oh, there's the bit where all the women get sealed in that tomb, where they just get thrown down a pit, and you just hear them screaming as that thing's closing, and it just cuts off. I was like, oh, that's quite horrible. And then the bit where the assistant gets crushed by the rolling door.
Yeah. True.
That's horrible. That's genuinely horrible. I watched that and go, oh, that's supposed to be a horrible way to die. Just you get crushed from the feet upwards.
Yeah, I suppose it does have those moments of horror, a bit like
they're not burly.
There's a couple of moments. No, they're not burly in that way.
They're not burly.
Also, I suppose you could factor in that some of the moves in it and some of the sound effects were used in the Amiga version of Barbarian, the game as well. So.
Yeah, but it's just even the fights aren't very good. That stupid fight where they just fight until they're dead tired. Just
Oh,
that was a particularly good fight.
It's a crap film, and I mean, in all fairness, I know English isn't their first language generally across the board in that, but it's just wooden dialogue, and it's and Bridget Nielsen, bless her, big, tall, striking looking, physical, crazy physical being, but acting strength, acting skills low, very low.
Yeah, and we're going to see her a couple more times yet.
We are.
Yeah. Anyway, that's Red Sonja. Poor a one. But let us move on because Schwarzenegger is prolific. He comes back. And this is Commando.
Oh my gosh.
Commando. So retired Special Forces Colonel John Matrix lives quietly with his daughter Teddy until vengeful former subordinates murder his comrades and kidnap her. The abductors working for an exiled dictator blackmail him into an assassination, but he escapes with only hours to spare. Enlisting flight attendant Cindy, Matrix tears through the kidnappers' network, the trail leading to a fortified island hideout for an explosive showdown. All right, so this is where Schwarzenegger comes. After the paucity of Burl in Red Sonja, Schwarzenegger comes back strong. So strong, this opens with him carrying a tree.
He does. Talk about Burly openings. I'm pretty sure he bit that tree down as well. He didn't chop it down; he bit it down.
Probably, but he does that. There's a good combo here, sort of thing, of the earnest, emotional Burl.
Yes.
The gentle giant, because he's with his daughter and they're playing the feeding the deer, and he creeps up and he's all that. But then he's shot of him carrying a tree, just cause.
Yeah. Why not?
Just chop it up. If you need some, just go down the shop and get some logs. If you need it for your fire. But then obviously we get they try to hire him, don't they? The army come back and try to hire him, but he won't do it. He don't want to leave.
He didn't want to be involved.
No. So then Jenny gets kidnapped. He gets this offer to go assassinate this guy. So we're going to watch you. Then it all just kicks off from there. So he basically he kills somebody on the plane by just snapping their neck. Brutal, hand-to-hand combat. Just snap. Don't wake my friend, he's dead tired. A bit quippy though for Burl, maybe. I don't know. I mean, this film is very quippy. This was probably the start of the quip.
It is the start
action
of the
hero
quippiness.
Quips.
Absolutely, it is.
Because there's not much more in the other ones. So we get that. Then there's the sequence in the shopping mall where at one point he throws off 1,000 policemen.
He does, yeah. He's a
just
big
pure
guy.
burliness. Swings across a thing using a rope. Nicks the car. Isn't there a bit in a phone booth as well? Is there a bit in the phone booth? I'm trying to sort of remember.
I'm pretty sure he does tip one over in a phone booth, doesn't he? I think.
Yeah, he just pulls it over or something. That guy's trying to escape. There's the car chase. He gets hold of him. I lied. He drops him off a cliff.
He suspends a guy by his ankle over a cliff.
By his ankle with one arm.
Yeah,
that's pretty burly.
That's
even
very
a small
burly.
Guy. That's it's 70, 80 kilograms. You just hold him with one arm.
Exactly. That's really hard to do.
yeah, just with one. I lied, and he drops him off. What goes on next? This all blurs into one bit with
he kills Bill Duke in there. He fights Bill Duke in the toilet.
He fights Bill Duke. There's the classic line: "I eat green berets for breakfast" and stuff like that. And then he. Is there another? How do they get to the? I'm trying to remember the plot of this.
Well, it moves at a pace, doesn't it? And it's all over the place. It intercuts with his daughter being kidnapped and being resistant to being kidnapped.
In amongst all this, you've got a bad guy with a chainmail vest.
Yeah, that's a burly vest, isn't it?
It's a burly vest. You don't see chainmail in the real world.
He's a very this is the return of the burly bad guy, isn't it? Because he is like, there's quite a few. Bill Duke's no small guy. But that guy is a big old angry burly guy, and he's in a few of these movies, isn't he? So
yeah, he does. So basically, this all leads to the island. So we get the sequence on the island where he tools up, which is obviously Stallone did it in First Blood Part 2. Yeah. Where he tooled up, he gets all the thing. Then there's the tooling up of thingy where he's just knives, guns, grenades, everything. And then he comes out this, chops a guy's arm off with a machete. Just blows everything up. Just one man army against a military sort of mercenary defense force. He just takes it all to bits before rescuing his daughter. And it's just this is wall to wall Burl. This is the return of Schwarzenegger as and this probably First Blood Part 2 kind of introduced the idea of the one-man army against thingy. First Blood Part 2 upped it again, and this one ups it again to ridiculous proportions. almost comedic,
Yeah.
which I'm not sure draw it down a little bit because at some point you just go, Jesus Christ, this is stupid.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But it is a burly film. What's your view on Commando?
Yeah, it is ultra burl, isn't it? I mean, it's like you said, it starts with him, carrying trees around. That's quite a burly thing to do. And again, he's in amongst the burl, isn't he? Amongst the trees. He's with the burl. He's one with the burl. He's even feeding that deer in a burly way. He's like, come to me, little deer. And then he like feeds it and it's all that. So that's how it starts. When you start a film with a man carrying a tree, you know what you're in for, right? And it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. The burl gets bigger. Rocket launch. He just uses a rocket launcher off his shoulder, and his shoulder-fired rocket launcher, the multi-rocket, doesn't matter. Grenades. He carries about 20 grenades around. They're heavy, them things. It doesn't matter. It just has loads of them. Chuck them around. It doesn't matter. And then when he blows that like camp up, it is like literally blown to smithereens, and it's like the people flying all over the place, like bodies flying everywhere. Yeah. It is absolutely the quotient of burl just goes up and up and up and up to the ultimate burlonic explosion at the end, where there's so much burl it just explodes. Everything explodes. You just blow everything up, because that's where it goes for these. From the logical conclusion of when you get so much burl in one confined space is that you get a burlonic explosion. And that's what happens in this. It just all explodes. Everything explodes. And then even the guy he kills at the end, he comes up with a quip, doesn't he? Wants to let off some steam, is it, in this one?
Yeah, because he throws a pipe through him.
Exactly. He burls him. Yeah, he does. He spears him with a tube.
Spears it with a pipe. That's hard to do.
It is. It is hard to do when that guy is already pretty burly and strong himself.
Well, he's got a chainmail vest on.
So yes, when it gets to that point, when and everything's exploded, you've killed the chainmail wearing bodybuilder with a pipe rather, and then after that, it's all burl. So yes, this is a very burly film, and I would put it in the I'm putting this in the same. I don't know. Is it as burly as Rambo? I don't know. It doesn't have as many vehicle types in it as Rambo does, I don't think. More domestic flights and more cars, but there's no helicopters. I don't know if there's big helicopters.
I think the quip quotient pulls this down a little bit.
I think it just detracts because they're trying to be silly, quirky, and it's something that's going to come back to haunt them with another movie later. So I would agree. So I maybe put it an 8.
It's quipless.
Yes, it's played not for giggles and shits and giggles, is it? And Commando has some silly bits in it. I tell you what I left you to last, I lie, and all that, and all them sort of silly one-liners, and he's dead tired.
Don't wake my friend, he's dead tired.
It was becoming his stick, wasn't it? And it comes back to bite in many other films after this. Kind of like you said, it's where it began. I think it detracts from the burliness. Schwarzenegger is massive in this, by the way, and everyone around him seems to be tiny. Huge. But he's surrounded himself with tiny people. That woman that he's in there with, she's tiny. That little guy he throws off he's a tiny guy. Yeah. They're all tiny, little tiny folk compared to him. So I'd give this an 8 because it's very burly, but I've taken some marks off because of the detractors, because of those things, the anti-burls that are in there. I'm taking a couple of marks off, so I'm saying this is an 8. It's burly, but the film isn't great. It's average because it's a bit stupid, and it does just go. There's a burlonic explosion at the end because there's so much burl. They don't know what to do with it, and it becomes quite clear, and it doesn't help the film along. And there's no. They try levity as a anti-burl mechanism, and it actually reduces the burl quota quite substantially. So I'd say an 8.
Yeah, I think you're right. There we go. That's Commando. One more, then we're going to take a quick break. But that one, we're back with Stallone. We're back in the world of Rocky. This is Rocky 4.
Oh, my gosh. Do you remember the titles for this? Everyone saw this at the cinema. Everybody. It was like standard issue cinema. And that giant and the Rocky 4 logo just goes to screen. Massive. It's burly. The logo for this at the beginning is burly. It's the first big burly logo. Terminator kind of had a burly logo, but it's downplayed by that music. Dum, 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 dum. Dum, 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 and it's just a bit downplayed, and then you see that sort of, it's quite clever the way it's done it. But Rocky, trumpets, burly trumpets, burly. This film's this is going to start burly. So when the towering steroid enhanced, the key word there for burl, isn't it? Those two words there, steroid enhanced. Soviet boxer Ivan Drago arrives in America. Apollo Creed challenges him to an exhibition fight with devastating consequences. Apollo Creed was quite burly. He is out-burled massively by the biggest burly Russian you're ever going to see in this. It's just huge. It's massive. Grief-stricken, Rocky agrees to face Drago in an unsanctioned Christmas Day bout in Moscow. I didn't realize it was a Christmas movie. I don't know why I didn't realize that.
No, I didn't.
Surrendering his title, training in the harsh Siberian wilderness in a burly wilderness.
Oh, that training sequence.
The burliest training sequence of all time. While Drago relies... cheater. He's a cheat. He relies on high-tech methods and steroid injections and cheatiness. Rocky prepares for the fight of his life in a match that becomes both personal vengeance and a symbolic clash of nations. This is East meets West, burl on burl, Russian burl, devious Russian burl in the context of this movie, versus pure-hearted American burl. He kills an American hero at the beginning of this, Adrian. Kills him dead. We cannot forgive and we cannot forget for that. He kills Apollo Creed. So
It does.
So this film starts with burl. It's all about burl. This is a very, very, very burly film. It's very montagey with burly montages.
Oh, it's massively montage. It's more montage than film.
It's all montage. I think is it 4 or 5 montages in this?
There's so many. Every time anything's about to happen, it's about 4 lines of dialogue and it's montage.
I mean, in this one, he's living in a burly house with his burly family. He's got a burly robot. He drives a burly car, which, he's got a Trans Am in this, a really burly car with a burly sounding engine. He drives that at the night in an angst-ridden burly way because he goes on a bit of a burly crisis after his burly mate gets burly killed. And so then he goes to see the other guy, the other burly guy, the other burly bald guy. And if he was from Barcelona, it'd be a triple B as well, wouldn't he? He's not from Barcelona, unfortunately. Wish he was.
No.
But the burly bald guy, and who trained Apollo, he's the one that takes him. But he says you can't train in this way. You can't train with this model way. You need to be out of the limelight. You can't be in the limelight. You need to be off the beaten track. We need to go back to basics. So he gets his crazy drunken friend who listens to Smurf music, I think, for some weird reason. And they go to Siberia. They go to the harsh land, don't they? The harsh Siberian back where he goes jogging in the snow, in the crazy snow, and runs up a mountain. And he's in the back of the no electricity, and he's training by candlelight, and he's lifting. He's lifting cartwheels up, and he's going old school. He goes old school burl. If you were going to train, and then he starts pulling off some crazy.
He's got boily.
He has gone boily, and then he starts to pull off burl moves, like full on burl moves. And then when he starts doing the training, he does that kind of dragon flag move where he's dragon
flag stuff. Like, geez, I tried that once.
Exactly. It didn't end well. That's a dangerous thing. No, it wouldn't. That's when you're reaching peak training burl, and his physique after the training of that time, because he even gets, as he's training, he gets bearded. That's just pure burl. That's not hair. That's burl. He's so much. He's pushing it down on the top of his head. They're pushing his perm down on the top of his head, and it's just coming out of his face. It's because he has got
nowhere else to go. It's so hard. They can't cut that hair.
He sweats testosterone, and he just bottles that back up and drinks it neat. He's totally off the radar, totally off the grid, training the old school way, doing it the old school, eating, shitting in the snow, wiping his ass on the dock leaves, whatever he's doing. It's crazy training. He's even followed by the KGB in their larder.
Yeah, runs up the mountain, doesn't he? Runs a car up a mountain.
He runs up the top of a mountain and then shouts, doesn't he, off the top of that mountain? Potentially causing a devastating avalanche, but he don't care about that because he's shouting off the top of a mountain. Doesn't matter.
Because he's burly.
And then you get to the burly fight, the longer of the fights, although it is montagey in the fight. But this isn't this is no more a boxing match. This is just a collection of mouth punches at one point. We just see people getting heavy punches to the belly and mouth. And he literally gets punched into oblivion. He is punched. His face, we said it before, his face is punched about 60 degrees over to the left. His face is moved from its direction. His face is directionally changed forever. He's punched smooth in this. He's battered around that ring at one point. And then somehow, by the power of pure burl, he comes back, doesn't he? And he feels the power in him, and he comes back. And then when he realizes that the Russian can be injured, because at this point he's frightened the Russian, then he thinks to himself, I can do this. Then is the greatest sequence, isn't it? The power of the American burl dominates the power of the cheaty Russian burl in the context of this movie. And so it's a slugathon, and then he just slugs him out, and he does that amazing sequence of punches. He collapses at the end of it. So much burl comes out of him in those punches that he collapses through sheer burl exhaustion. He's exhausted his burl temporarily. They're both on the ground. Then he gets up. It's declared the winner. It's not even for a title, is it, or anything? He's just the winner.
No, it's just for revenge. It's just a revenge flick.
Exactly. Pure revenge, but two massive dudes. I mean, Stallone, after his training, is humongous in this. He's lean, and Dolph Lundgren is a massive fella in that. He's huge. It's easy to misunderstand how big he is, but he is 6'7". He's massive huge, in every way. He's a huge guy, and he's also, by the way, I don't know if you know this about him. This is a true fact. He's also a physics. He's got a master's, I think, or a doctor of physics. He's like a master. Yeah. He's a really intelligent guy, super clever. Not in that movie though, because he's a cheaty, Russian scum. And it's also got Bridget Nielsen in this as well, as she plays the sort of the PR agent for Drago.
Yes.
Whereas Rocky's just got that ball, the double B actually, and he's got Paulie, ain't he? The sort of guy that's a little bit drunken and crazy.
Yeah.
And of course, Adrian, not obviously, the woman Adrian.
Yes.
But I think out of all the Rocky films that there are, this is probably the burliest because of the nature of the Burly contest. It's a big old Burly off, isn't it? This is literally a battle of Burl. And it's got the old school training sequence in it, the burliest training sequence I think of all time, with the great Burly trumpet music all the way through, and the great moment.
The music's so good.
It's totally, it's just ace.
I'm Burly music. Yeah,
I'm putting Rocky IV at a 9. I think this is a Richter scale Burl. No, it's a Burl wave, a Burl shockwave when you watch that movie.
Yeah.
Montages or not. What do you think?
I agree completely. I love Rocky IV, and it is, watching it again, you're like, God, it's so, in a Burly context, you realise how much Burl there is. So much Burl, and so much going on. You have to watch this film in a kind of different mindset, just looking at the muscles and the sheen and the sweat and the punching and the strength and it's like we said about Rocky III, because it's about boxing, so it's a Burly sport done in a Burly way with massive Burly men. It's Burly, and they punch each other, like you said, they punch each other smooth. They punch each other into another dimension. It's like it's just. It's so ridiculous, because that one of those punches from Drago would just, if it was real, it'd be out till next week. But it doesn't matter, does it? Because you got that Burly music driving him on. That training sequence is perhaps the burliest thing we have watched.
Yeah, he's very.
I don't think there's a sequence. Maybe Arnie swinging his sword about is a. But this is like you said, he's doing them dragon flags and he's running up a hill and he's like pulling those things. And he's grit and determination.
The pure sweat. I mean, he's in the snow and he's sweating in the snow, isn't he? It's like that's how hard he's working. He's sweating in Siberia. Yeah,
absolutely. The snow has melted around the hut. Did you notice? Because he's exuded so much Burly heat. They're not cold in there. They're just at night sort of thing. They just put their hands up to his face and they're like, it's dead warm. It's dead hot. That's what they do. That's how they keep warm in there.
Yeah. You don't need so much bags in there.
No, you just huddle around Stallone. It's like a thermonuclear device sat in that bloody.
It is all that Burl has to go somewhere. That Burl energy is like properly.
Absolutely, energy you can't destroy energy. It can only be changed. It can only be transformed to a different sort. So Burl becomes heat.
Tron. Yeah, absolutely.
So Rocky IV, amazing, a crazy film. It is more montage than film, but it is more Burl than anything else, and it has to be a 9.
I agree.
Here we go. Right, we're halfway through the decade there, Graham. So I think at this point we probably need a bit of a break. Just have a drink, come back. We've still got another 10 films to get through. So, plenty to talk about, plenty of Burl still to experience. But it's it's the later 80s Burl, which takes a different track.
It takes a
turn. So we're just going to go for a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get into the next set of films. And so, stay with us. Continues the Burl Fest that is these load of films. 10 more still to get through. And we're sticking with Stallone for the next one in chronological order, and that film was Cobra, May 1986. Yeah, so Cobra, Lieutenant Marion Cobra Cabretti, a hard-edged member of an elite LA police squad, is brought in to tackle a string of violent crimes. The killings prove to be the work of a murderous cult, the New World. And when model Ingrid Knudsen, is it Knudsen or Knudsen? How do you pronounce this?
Yeah.
Knudsen, witnesses their leader, the Night Slasher, she becomes their target. Assigned to protect her, Cabretti is besieged by the cult's motorcycle-riding members, building to a brutal final confrontation. So we're back in normal world, and I say normal as in we're back in a world of cops and slashers and serial killers and that kind of thing. We're back in police procedural sort of to a certain degree. We'll see a few of these actually, a couple of these. So Cobra in and of itself. Okay, so this starts with a shootout. Some guy it gets really angry with food. And just goes into supermarkets and shoots all the food.
He does, yeah. A bit wild, isn't it, that?
It's just, why are you shooting the food? What are you doing? Who are you angry at? He does shoot one guy though in the back from miles away. I think he could have got out of the way maybe a little bit better, that guy, but he does get that, which forces Cobra to turn up. I do like the fact it's a bit burly that he's got a Cobra on his gun.
That is burly.
That's quite a burly gun he's got. He's got a bloody Cobra on it. He takes him out within the thing. He gets harassed by the press. He grabs one and shoves him in a dead guy's face, which is quite a burly thing to do. But there's not a lot. This isn't a particularly physically burly film. I think there's not. Stallone remains clothed for most of it. There's not much in the way of fleshy burl.
Very clothed, very leather.
Yeah, it really is sort of thing. And so essentially, this is a more low key affair, and it's not very good. And that's partly because this film was supposed to be over 2 hours long and they cut 50 minutes out of it. So it makes no sense. A lot of this, it just goes from piece to piece and it makes no real sense. And they did that so they could get more showings at the cinema or whatever, but it does impact on the film of this. The main bad guy is quite burly. I can't remember his name, the guy who plays the main bad guy, but he's the alien shapeshifter in X-Files and things like that.
Yeah, he's quite a burly character, isn't he?
And he's quite burly, but he's got a face which already looks like it's been through the fight in Rocky IV, but that's just his face.
Just the way God made him.
It's just the way God made him. But suppose he's a really nice guy, but he plays quite a menacing bad guy, I suppose.
Evil,
but again,
he's really nasty in that.
Yeah, but there's not particularly that much burl in this in terms of the violence and the combat. It's all guns. There's a fight at the end he's got a really sort of a nasty knife. Which uses, but supposedly all those deaths, all the killings which you do sort of thing, they were all a lot more gory in the original. They're all in there, but they all got cut out. There's loads more stuff in it, sort of thing, which all got cut away. And so I think this film is too lean. It's too lean but it's trying to tell a story. It doesn't really make much sense. There's the really stupid. Why did they leave the sequence in where she's getting photographed with shit robots?
Yeah, why? It's really weird.
By Sledgehammer.
Yeah, so stupid.
But why is that in there? This film makes no sense. And because it makes no sense, because of these stupid extra sequences, the burl quotient is low. After something like Rocky IV. Now, I have a feeling sort of thing that, he's done, I have a wonder sort of thing if he's done First Blood Part 2, then he's done Rocky IV. He's been in these kind of extreme locations. I wonder if at this point, both him and Schwarzenegger for the next one just went, just put me in a city. I just want to be able to go home at night and sleep in bed.
I want to be near where I live. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
In terms of what they were making. But what it does do is it lowers the burl quotient really low. There's not much in this. I was struggling to find a burl, any kind of real burl in this, apart from his gun. Yep. What did you think? It's a mess of a film, and it's a lacking in burl quality.
It's messy. It's a riff really on the Dirty Harry theme again, really, where you've got Rogue Cop.
Yeah, he's back to his Nighthawks stuff, isn't he?
Yeah, it is a bit. And they tried to put it with punchy one-liners, and they've tried a little bit of that in this, such as they are. It doesn't really work. And I think the thing that suffers mainly here is that they clearly wanted it to be a lot nastier than it ended up being. This was clearly meant to be an R-rated movie, and it ended up getting a lot of cuts to make it, and significantly to cut it down in time and to cut it down. It's thematically quite burly in what it was thinking of, because the idea of the night slasher is pretty brutal, and what's happening is pretty brutal. And his character is quite brutal. It's very leaning on Terminator mixed with Dirty Harry in some ways, but it just doesn't quite work. Partly because it's just he says burly things, but doesn't really act in a very burly way. He's got a burly gun, I guess, but it's not that. Doesn't really do much burly stuff in it. He just kind of acts pissed off a lot and just sort of miffed around the edges, and he's a bit of a loner, and he just beats his own drum and does what he wants, and he probably gets his ass chewed off by the mayor, just like Dirty Harry did.
He does.
And it sort of sets a tone for this, where they're trying to give him a bit more character depth than just being a one-man killing machine. He's got a bit of angst and stuff like that, but it doesn't really work, and it defaults back to him being a kind of a one-man, not a killing machine here, but a one-man police station. He's a judge. It's like he is in Judge Dredd. He's kind of a judge, jury, and executioner in this, and he just does what he wants. And no, because the rules, the bad guys don't play by the rules, and to capture them, you can't just follow the law. You got to, it doesn't work that way in this harsh world with all these crazy slashers. It just wasn't very burly. It's an interesting idea of a film cut to pieces, and it suffers because of that, with a terrible script and an awful soundtrack. I just didn't think it was very burly. I scored it a 3 because I thought there's burly leather in it. I kind of gave it a little bit for its leather burl, and he just cut a pizza with a pair of scissors, which is quite a burly way of cutting pizza.
It is. It's got atrocious product placement in this. I just want to call it product placement.
Yes,
Where
the
in the
Pepsi.
opening, no, just not just the Pepsi he's just got on his house, a massive Pepsi down his house. But in the opening sequence where he's hunting that guy, and he just stops to drink a Coors.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So where are you scoring Cobra then?
I mean, I'll agree with a 3. I think I put it at a 2 because there's a real lack of burl in this.
I could do a 2. I consider a 3. I could do 2. Let's say a 2 because I think you're right. There's, apart from a little bit of side burl, there's nothing really burly about it, is there?
No burly characters, not really. He's not act in a particularly burly way.
No.
The shoot at the end of the fight, it's like, but that's raising it from a 1.
No, I agree with you. I agree.
Not a burly film. There we go, Cobra. Not burly at all. Let's move on. Schwarzenegger's back. And weirdly, almost very similar film. Raw Deal.
Well, yeah. I mean, they've clearly seen or heard that Cobra had been greenlit and has been made. And at this point now, we're starting to see the rivalry start to happen.
Yeah.
So Rambo, and then we get Commando. Cobra, and then we get Raw Deal. They're almost principally, they're of the same pod. No, they're out of the same toolbox. So in Raw Deal, Mark Kaminsky, a former FBI agent working as a small-town sheriff, is secretly recruited by an aging agent whose son was killed by the mob. Faking his own death in a very stupidly elaborate way, he infiltrates a powerful Chicago crime organization to destroy it from within, working into the syndicate's trust while contending with a suspicious lieutenant and an FBI leak. Once his cover is blown, he launches a violent one-man assault to bring the organization down. So this is fusing Cobra with a bit of First Blood in there a little bit. So Schwarzenegger is understated in this. He's trying to act, right, in this. He's trying to act. So he's seen that Stallone can act. Stallone is quite a good actor, all said and done. Let's not forget the guy wrote Rocky and wrote a few of these films and and stuff, directed some stuff. He's a talented guy. I think they were trying to give a bit more depth to him. Their answer to do this was to put him in crap suits, put him in a really weird domestic setting that bore no relevance anyway to the film because he just asses that off anyway, completely.
Yeah. And denim. Don't forget the denim.
So he kills himself in denim. If you're going to kill yourself, don't wear denim to do it. I think, so because he didn't kill himself, he fakes his own death by, and I think what he did actually first, he faked his own death by killing himself with fashion. He went on the world's most terrible fashion faux pas by walking onto a petrochemical factory in pure denim. I think he even had denim socks on during that, and everything was pure denim. He couldn't have been in more denim if he was in Dexys Midnight Runners at that point, singing "Come on, Eileen" when he humming it as he walked in there. Anyway, so he does that, and then from that moment forth, then he's in a series of weird suits and wigs. He puts on a weird wig as well for reasons I can't understand. He puts on a wig at the beginning, dyes his hair black. I think it's an attempt to look more Italian, which he's never going to do. He's never going to look Italian. He's always going to look kind of Austrian. He's always going to look and sound Austrian for reasons that are obvious to everybody because he's Austrian. You're never going to, just putting a black wig on and a suit don't make you an Italian, an American Italian at that. It doesn't. It just doesn't. Anyway, for some reason it does in this. And he infiltrates the mafia by just pissing everybody off. He just goes around pissing everybody off. That's his plan. That's his grand plan. Now, is that a burly plan? I would say it's burly. I mean, he does drive he disrupts a casino, a makeshift casino by literally driving a truck through it. He goes in there, gambles badly and loses, and then wins again. Sorry, hands his money to a woman anyway, just gives it to her, and then just smashes everything up and then drives a truck through it all. and then that's kind of the modus operandi for this movie. He just goes around doing really annoying shit. He just steals all this woman's jewels for no reason whatsoever. And then steals their car and abandons them and just drives off in their limousine. He just does things to piss them off. He just goes around. His way of being co-opted by the mafia is to just piss off the opposing mafia family. There's two families kind of at war with each other. And the FBI are somehow caught up in the middle. It's not really clear what his relationship is with the kind of FBI agent that recruits him, who weirdly pays for it himself, which is something I still can't get my head around. He's like, I've got $45,000. I'll pay for this damn thing. I want you to infiltrate the mafia. I've got $45,000. And then at the point he goes, right, here's $20,000. I've got plenty more. It's like, you haven't. You've got 25 left. That ain't a lot for this operation, the cost of this operation. No. Not at the rate
how much he's spending. And suits.
On suits, bad suits. I said it before. He should not be wearing tan brown brogues. That's not a good look for him. It's just not. And he never wears matching.
It's not burly look.
Well, he has the one suit that he does wear. He looks stupid in a suit, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think it's partly because he's wearing an Italian cut suit. So an Italian cut suits are slightly wider in the shoulder, they're not fluted lapels, and they actually go straight down. They're sort of like blocks. That's an Italian style suit. So that's why the mafia have that kind of block look, because that's what Italian style suits. Other suits from elsewhere in Europe have more of a tailored look, so they kind of cut in at the waist. His suit doesn't, just a block. So he looks like a giant block man anyway, which is burly in its own way. But when he's wearing his casual sports jackets and trousers, he looks stupid. He looks really stupid, and he does stupid stuff. Anyway, it doesn't really, the burl quotient doesn't really get very high in this. He just goes around pissing everybody off, and he looks big, but he's never sort of, apart from when he puts towards the end where he puts on like a vest, but he just tries to be more, I hate to say it, I think it's like he's dressing as Joey from Friends at the end. He just goes full Tribbiani. That's not burl. He dresses up more like somebody out of somebody who's about to go to the Village People tribute, so he's going to the Blue Oyster Bar, I think, is where he's heading at the end of that movie. He just goes and he gets a vest, and he puts on his leather jacket. He's got his leather pants, his leather shoes, and he just goes full pleather, and he just goes on a pleather cruise.
The burly pleather cruise.
And he he doesn't do really burly shit. He just goes around annoying everybody, to the point when they take notice of him, and then by the time they take notice of him, they go, wait a minute, he works for the FBI, which is obvious, really, when you think about it, because he doesn't do anything other than act really suspicious. He's like an informant. Anyway, cut to the, long story short, it's not very burly, really, this.
No. I think it's burlier than Cobra.
Yeah, it is, because he's a bit burlier by stature. He's a big guy in this, and he's the biggest guy in the room always.
I was thinking about it, that if you are, if you got to kill yourself or fake your own death, then blowing up a petrochemical plant is quite a burly way to do it.
Yeah. That's the way he rings up, because I've just spotted somebody going into the petrochemical plant. I'm just going to check it out. Drives his car in there and just blows it to pieces.
With his voice, like, is that you? Is that you, Mark Kaminsky? No, I don't know who you think this is.
It's really stupid.
Well, your voice is quite distinct.
And yet, it's the sort of untold damage, really. Like, what did they tell his wife? He has got a wife at the beginning of this. Yes, she's an raging alcoholic for no reason, and she's a crap baker.
Cake at him.
Yeah, and she's a crap baker. Okay, we can't all bake well. That's fair. But I don't quite get the. Get.
She's never mentioned again, is she?
No. She's just.
Apart from when he tells that woman that he's married and she's a long way away or something.
Yeah, just asses it off. I mean, casual, really. So that's quite a burly way of getting rid of your wife. He just, he burls his way out of that, doesn't he? But it's not a particularly burly film. There's some crazy antics in it, but it's not a particularly burly one. So for me, this was a 3, possibly a 4. Yeah, no, I'm with you there.
Where were you?
I came at this as a 3.
Yeah,
and I would have been tempted to even drop that lower, but I'll go with what you say. I think for the shits and giggles of it.
3. Okay, we've got 4 films left for each one at this point in time. Do you want to know the scores at the moment?
What's the scores? Yeah.
Well, Arnie has a burl factor of 30 for the 6 films.
Okay.
Stallone has 37.
Ooh, that's quite the lead, but we've got some burly shit coming, haven't we?
There's some burly shit coming, yeah. So let's move on to our, with 4 films left from both of them. Let's see how this pans out. Our next film, though, is a Stallone one. This is over the top. Okay. Everything about this film is Lincoln Hawk or Hawks. Pick one. Just pick one. It could be either. Even he's refusing himself as Hawks at some point. No one knows. Hawk or Hawks. A struggling long-haul trucker who arm wrestles for extra cash. That's good.
We've all been there.
Absolutely. I was young and needed the money. Is asked by his dying estranged wife to collect their son Michael and build a relationship with him during a cross-country road trip in a truck. After this is in a truck.
It's a truck driver.
He's a truck driver. The hostile boy slowly warms to his father, though their bond is tested by a controlling grandfather, played by Robert Loggia. Hawk or Hawks sets out to win custody, pinning his hopes on the World Arm Wrestling Championship in Las Vegas. That's a weird way to do it, isn't it?
It's a weird prize.
Yeah.
What's the top prize? You can win a child.
This boy.
You can win this child. Well, that seems like an extreme prize. What's second prize? Second set of steak knives. You can't have everything.
Absolutely.
Budget's a real problem.
Third prize? A trouser press.
Oh, you beaten that guy. Yeah, he lost the trouser press. Sorry. Oh, damn it.
Lost it. Damn it. I really wanted it. My trousers are creased all the time. So over the top. So basically, the kid Michael he sort of graduates. The film starts off with him
Military
graduating
academy,
from
yeah.
military academy, where he's waiting for someone to pick him up. He doesn't know who. I think he thinks he's going to be his mum or his granddad. Someone's supposed to be there, but nobody's there. Lincoln Hawks turns up, his dad, and picks him up and takes him away. Sort of thing.
All the Hawks turn up, yeah.
All the Hawks, yeah. Hawk 1, Hawk 2, the Slayer, all of them. They're all there. He comes from a long line of Hawks. Stringfellow, the Slayer.
Sister, lady, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So he picks him up. Then they stop at there's some there's an attempt at father-son bonding which doesn't go particularly well. They stop at a truck stop. Everybody knows his name. Everybody knows Hawk's name.
Everybody knows
even
him.
if he don't. And so there's some guy called the Smasher.
Oh, that guy
challenges him to an arm wrestle. Which is where we learned that Lincoln Hawk is an arm wrestling specialist or a bit of a hustler, an arm wrestling hustler. So he takes down the Smasher with his trademark grip move, which just means moving his fingers over. This is grip. Moves his fingers for a special grip. Takes him out. The boy accuses him of being a hustler. No, okay. Then there's a series of where they just trying to get on. He lets this boy drive a truck,
He does.
an 18-wheel truck with the trailer on. I mean, just on an open road. This kid has never driven before in his life. This kid can barely reach the pedals. He's 11.
Crazy.
That's a crazy thing to do. Then the kid gets kidnapped at one point. There's a car. Is there a car chase, I think, or something? Yeah. And then he gets grabbed back. He drives his car. The kid gets taken back to his grandfather's mansion. He drives a car into it. That's quite burly. And then decides the only way he can win it. He offers him loads of money to sort of piss off and out of his life, and gives him a new truck and $500,000, and says, if you just leave us alone, I keep the son. He goes, no, I'm going to win him back by winning this. Win him in his first prize in an arm wrestling championship. So
who knew?
Absolutely. The granddad's like, I knew I shouldn't have entered him as the prize. Damn it.
God.
The one thing we were supposed
now.
to do.
Yeah. I wasn't meant to check that box. Oh, damn it.
Yeah, do you put your grandson up as prize for this arm wrestling competition? Yes, I do.
Yes.
So
no or yes? Yes. I mean, no.
I can only take your first answer. And then the arm wrestling competition happens.
Yep.
Where there's so much burl, there's so much body burl. It's some of these arms and the sweating and the grunting and the close facial combat stuff is off the charts until he wins his kid back, his first prize, and a truck, and they drive off to become Hawk and Sons or Hawks and Sons. I don't know. There's too many plurals.
The Hawkses.
Hawkses, yeah. Isn't that what Gollum says?
Yeah,
nasty Hawkses.
Nasty Hawkses. We ate them forever. Arm wrestling Hawkses.
Come here, giving off their sons in competitions and that's it. So I don't know what to say about this one. There's a lot of over-the-top burl. There's a lot of grunty burl in this.
There is. A lot of gritty teeth burl in this one, isn't there?
Yeah, but it comes at a cost. There's not much else to this film. There's not a lot of burl in the middle. He's not a particularly burly, he's more of a sensitive dad kind of thing, just trying to get his son back. Trying to form this relationship with his dad. So in that respect, it's a bit of it's one of them. It's a strange stuff. Essentially, it's a remake of The Champ. It is. To some degree, it's that kind of movie, but with arm wrestling and more burl and more grunting. Yep. And he doesn't die at the end. So it's not a great film, I have to say. It's not a particularly good film. I mean, it's a really cheap Canon film, innit? Very. Budget of 25 million, 12 million of that went to Stallone.
Jeez, man. I can see why.
Yeah. I read that they just kept asking him to be in it, and he just kept asking for more money until he said yes. They just kept offering him more money until he said yes. But yeah, I'll give it, that back half, or that back sort of third where they get to the arm wrestling competition, that's heavy burl content. So for me, this would rate probably about a 6.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd actually put this at a 5, but because I thought it was a film of two halves. The first half of the film is burlless, and then the second half of the film is all burl, to the point where it almost goes. It's like a different movie. The second half, it's about they're sort of they sort of have vox pop interviews with the various arm wrestlers, and after the fact sort of interviews. It's almost like an event that you're watching, really. It sort of changes from being a film to being purely about that event. And the kids and the troubles with the grandfather and all that's kind of just a secondary thing that's superfluous. No, what's the word?
Surplus?
It's not
Superfluous?
Superfluous, that's the word, yeah. That's superfluous to what's happening. So it is all burl at that point now. It goes from being very little burl with maybe hints to just burl. You got that massive main guy in the enemy one that's going to do him, and he is massive. Then you've got a series of wild burl. There's like a wild burl crazy. There's another, there's various different stages of burl and different types of burl, but burly is what it is. And they're all arm wrestlers, and they've all got the various different arm wrestling maneuver moves where they could do, the quick flip and the doodah. He's famous for his over the top.
It's close up melee, isn't it? It's close up. You can't get closer than arm wrestling.
No, sweat. It's all teeth. I mean, the teeth are basically sweating in this, aren't they? It's like close up of teeth, sweat, face sweat, bulging eyes, bulging arms, total and utter. It's all testosterone burl at the end. So the last half of this film is all burl, all of it. It's burly. But the first half of the film is a more of a relationship between father and son. It's obviously they've got the death of his mother, which is and his wife or his ex-wife, which is the grief and everything else. You've got all that to contend with, and the two halves don't really match. I think there's such a disjunction between the two that it feels like it's two films bolted together. And that's why I've given it a 5, because that first half isn't really that burly, but the second half makes up for it with all the burl. But it is halfway through the film, pretty much exactly.
I'll drop it to a 5. I was a 5 or 6. 5.
Okay, 5. I mean, it's still it's still burly, and it's also not a great film. It's actually quite good in the sense that his performance in it is okay. It's not like it's just two different films. His performance in the first half of the film, which is about a kid trying to reconcile with his son, is very different from how it ends, which is trying to win his son in a competition by pulling people's arms off. They're just not compatible in my brain. It's like, so there's just two different films. But there you go. That's my thought on it. So 5.
5. Yeah, 5 for Over the Top. Which brings us to Schwarzenegger's next one. I think this might score quite highly. Graham, it's Predator.
Oh, goodness me. Predator. Everything about this is burly. Dutch leads an elite rescue team into a Central American jungle and what proves to be a misleading CIA mission. After wiping out a guerrilla camp, the team, and we haven't even got to the main meat of this film, by the way. It's just pretty much how it begins. The team is stalked by an invisible, technologically advanced alien hunter that picks them off one by one, taking trophies. Stripped of his men and weapons, Dutch must use cunning and improvised traps to survive a final one-to-one battle with the creature. This film is all burl.
Yeah.
It's burl. From the minute they meet each other, burl. Right from the beginning where too many bed cells pushing and they clap their arms together and their arms basically explode in burl muscle. You know what you're in for. The conversations are burly. They fly in burly helicopters. We're listening to burly music, joking each other with burly jokes. Gee, she's got a big pussy or whatever, and strap that on your sore ass and all. Burly jokes replete throughout this. Not all the military team are burly, but most of them are. I think it's safe to say. Bill Duke's relatively burly. What's he called? The guy that plays Billy, Sonny, whatever his name is.
Sonny Landham, is it? Sonny
Landham, yeah, burly guy. You've got the guy that's the ex-wrestler guy in there. What's he called? I can't remember his name now, but there's a team of burly
Jesse Ventura.
Men. Jesse Ventura, yeah. A team of burly people, some of them wrestlers, some of them not. Dropped into the jungle. They're not going to be inconspicuous, no matter how much they try and be quiet and shh and be move 20 meters spread, no sound. You're not going to make no sound, mate. You're a giant stomping through the jungle. Everyone would be able to hear you. You don't need to be technologically advanced from another planet to hear them stomping their way through the jungle. They make a lot of noise. They're big fellas. Anyway, they go and then they find this base. They decide that instead of like taking pictures and oh my god, what we're going to do, they see that this team that they've gone in to rescue essentially one of the teams has been slaughtered. The second team that was sent in is being captured and they get basically murdered by I guess Russians. I think at this point it's not really clear, probably Russians anyway, but they're not burly enough to survive in this jungle, so they get offed. So pissed off is this small team that are armed to the teeth with the craziest weapons known to man, including a minigun. For goodness sake, one of them brandishes a minigun, which is a big old weapon, old painless, whatever it is. So they wipe this village out completely. No, they literally blow it to smithereens and kill everybody in it. No, and they even carve half the jungle down in that process. This catches the attention, unsurprisingly, of an alien from another world that happens to be a hunter, when he sees them carve their way through a significant proportion of the jungle with their bare hands and fists and then their weapons, he takes it upon himself to think, well, they're probably worth hunting, which he does. So then obviously the rest of the film is played out as in that the hunters become the hunted. And this one man killing machine predator, to this point you haven't seen it, it just starts to take them out one by one. They try and fight it in burly ways, don't they? They do traps, and at one point they all stand there and literally destroy half the jungle by cutting it down with their guns and don't actually hit anything crazily. And then it picks them off. It's got, what's his name in it? Carl Weathers, of course. He's quite burly in this. He's out-burled by Schwarzenegger, and he's not going to survive. He obviously gets out-burled by the Predator, as do they all. It leads to the inevitable fight between Schwarzenegger and the Predator, of course. And even that's a burly old fight, isn't it? Because it reduces down to them duking it out, fisticuffs. They start their weapons, don't work out so well. He outfoxes him a little bit with a bit of trickery. He hides in some sludge. Yeah, you can't see me when I'm covered in mud and all that. He hides in a burly way by gripping onto the bottom of a log, which is, that's a burly way to hide from anything, innit? You don't just some of us could just go and hide in a bush or hide behind a tree. He grips underneath a log that's over a ravine, doesn't he? Yeah. And then when he wants to fight him, he doesn't just, sneak around and try and sneak up on it. He stands on the edge of a cliff and goes, and calls to the Predator. And with a fiery stick, he uses the stick of fire. Fiery sticks. You don't see many of them in these kind of films. In First Blood, he reverts to a fiery stick, doesn't he? And in this, he reverts to a fiery stick. So the fiery stick's made a comeback. It's burly way of walking around in the jungle, isn't it? Where you just, you could get a rag, you tear a bit of your t-shirt off, wrap it around a twig, and then for some reason, just that fire on it just lasts forever when you dip it in a bit of petrol or whatever. That's going to last for a good 10 hours, it seems. I don't know. Yeah. Never have, lit fires, matches. They don't last that long, really.
Nope.
No, in that environment. Particularly in the jungle where it's very, it's dense, it's hot, but it's really moist in the jungle. It's kind of, moist.
Yeah, but they're known
anyway. So, but burliness, big helicopters, big gobby people, big statements, but the one-liners and the puns are in this kind of detracts from the burly because you never quite know where your burly radar points in different directions. And the burly people do stupid burly things. One guy's always shaving his face when you don't need to shave. He shaves because he's burly. He's not shaving because he needs to shave. That's just the burly way of shaving. You're just using a disposable razor just to do shit. Don't do anything. He's got no facial hair. He's bald. He's the bald man shaving. It's weird. And then he gets killed. He gets his brain splattered out. The other guy gets his arm blown off. One guy just walks onto a log and just carves himself open for no reason whatsoever. He's meant to be the big super cool tracker. He ain't afraid of no man, but he's afraid of what's stuck in him. Ultimately, this is the showdown movie. But it is very, very burly all the way through. Burly team, burly situation, not lots of dialogue, especially towards the latter half of the film. Lots of burly fights, fighting a big burly alien who's a big burly crab face or pussy face, depending on which, column A, column B. And it is quite burly. Is it the burliest? Well, I think there's a lot of burl, but it's not always great burl. It's a great film, Predator, for what it is. But is it full of really burly moments? Not really. It's full of some burly moments, some burly set pieces. So I actually put this as an 8. I could go to a 9. I could go to a 9 for it because it is very burly. But I just think there's a few things that detract from that burliness a little bit. Not all the characters in his team are super burly. Some of them aren't. Everyone gets killed anyway, regardless. And the really burly ones seem to kill themselves randomly or do stupid shit that means they get killed. One of them kills a pig, which isn't very nice, doesn't he? You kill a pig. The traps that they lay for the Predator never work. And then none of them, not even the super experienced bodybuilding tracker they seem to have, figures out that he's using the trees until they all look up. They go, wait a minute, how did he get in here? He's using the trees. Like, you're in a jungle. There's only so many ways he could come at you. And if it's coming at you silently, I'll wager it's from the fucking sky, you dipshits. Not military strategists, it seems. But then they proved that by blowing up that base. So I've given it an 8. I could go to a 9. But what do you think?
Yeah, it's very, very burly, isn't it? I mean, the film starts off burly. I think one of the other things is as well, it's got burly soundtrack.
Oh, yes. I forgot to mention
that.
So,
I mean,
it really is.
And then it's got this, and then it's got the horn.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
So it's got a very burly soundtrack. It starts with a burly shot with Arnie just basically eating a cigar that's as thick as my arm.
Yeah, he does get off that helicopter, doesn't he?
And then there's the pushing too many pencils close upon the biceps.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Jesus Christ, if that doesn't say what this film's going to be like. All right. And then everyone's massive, everyone's burly, everyone's carrying a huge weapon. they're all stupid with it, but it's just it's so over the top burl. Everyone's just like you said, it's stupid to go no sound. Like, oh, you're all huge.
You're making sound.
Yeah. If you walked in a sound in a room that was soundproof, I would still hear you.
Yeah. They're not
so
quiet.
massive. No, and that ending. I mean, as well, I'd give it burl points. Really good, strong burl points for the fact that the ending, he goes back to nature. He goes for burly tactics, with the logs, and he pulls that bloody massive log up, that huge.
Yeah, true.
For it to drop on his head, that bit, and
true.
does all that.
He lifts a log. Is that a running theme in his films?
He's a log lifter. It's Bavarian types. That's what they do, isn't it? They lift logs.
That sounds like a wrestling move, a painful one at that. Oh my God, he's done a Bavarian lug lifter. Oof, you ain't going to survive that. I meant to say,
he's not going to sit on the toilet very well for another 2 weeks.
There is a nuclear explosion in this as well, of course, as well.
Yeah, which he runs away from and survives.
He survives, just jumps out the way.
Which is how you survived nuclear war. That's what they taught us at school.
Yeah. I mean, it is a big old blast, that, isn't it? Because it clears the jungle. It's like a decimated jungle afterwards.
Yeah, I think, but there are the preposterous moments. That's a preposterous moment. The one-liners do undercut it somewhat from the burl quotient, but they're burly one-liners. I ain't got time to bleed. That's burly.
No, if it bleeds, we can kill it.
If they're burly lines, it's like, okay, this is burly. Burly
that's a burly rationale for taking on an unknown alien force, and if it bleeds, we can kill it. Are you sure about that? Because it's pretty big.
How hard must you throw a knife to stick someone to the wall?
Stick around. How big is that knife? As well.
Yeah, exactly. Massive knife, stick around.
Big belly knife.
So for me, I think Predator has to be a 9, I think.
Yeah, I said I could go to that. I think, but just on the soundtrack edition and the notion of his enormous knife. So.
yeah, it don't get a 10 because of the bits we've dropped back from. But the film is all burl. It's all burl.
It is the ultimate burl, isn't it? The burliter, it is.
Yeah, it is. There's Predator. Okay. Brought the scores quite closely back together there, though. I don't know who's going to win this. I don't know. It's a close one.
Getting close now.
But we're staying with Schwarzenegger, though. 1987, this was The Running Man.
Ooh.
Okay. In a totalitarian future America, disgraced officer Ben Richards, my buddy's on Ben Richards, is framed for a massacre and branded the Butcher of Bakersfield. Coerced by a cynical game show host, he is forced into The Running Man, a lethal program in which convicts must survive costumed stalkers. As Richards outwits them on live television, the audience turns in his favor and he becomes an unlikely symbol of resistance against the regime's media machine.
Ooh.
So quite the departure from the book, the Bachman book, Stephen King book, which is obviously set over 30 days and a lot more in that sort of thing, and different as well to the more recent version as well. Upon watching this, I watched this recently and I watched it again for this. I just want to say that I think at the time, I thought, before we get to the Burl stuff, I just want to say that I thought that what they did in changing it, I was like, oh, it's not like the book. It's not like the book. But then watching the newer one, which is more like the book in that it's set over a longer period of time, reinforced why they made it not like the book, because you can't do it in a film.
Yeah.
You can't fit 30 days in a film properly. It's why 30 Days a Night is boring. Yeah. Because 30 days in a film is, well, what you're not going to do 30 days of stuff.
It's a month.
Yeah, you can't fit that into 90 minutes or whatever, 120 minutes. So I think they actually did quite a clever thing in making this a more contained thing within a set small period of time. Anyway, apart from that, okay, so the film starts. And he gets, wrongly, like he's framed for this shooting all these. He's a helicopter pilot, isn't he? And he gets framed for shooting all these protesters. He gets sent to prison. This prison is not full of particularly brilliant men, but they all have these collars on, which if you run outside this thing, it blows your head up. He then gets offered a place on. He escapes, doesn't he? He escapes, puts on the widest Hawaiian shirt ever.
He's massive in this film
to try and blend in, that and a hat.
He ain't like, blending in anywhere, is he?
We'll never spot him. He's like, who's that guy? He's taking up 2 seats. He barely rips up a exercise bike that's nailed to the floor, that's screwed to the floor.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, when he's saying he wants her to say please. Yeah,
that's quite burly. And he's quite big again in this, so he's a massive guy obviously in this. He gets captured, he gets put on the Running Man, he gets sent in, he gets put in an all-in-one leotard.
He does wear a unitard, doesn't he? In that,
Yeah, along with Yaphet Kotto and the other guy who no one ever remembers, the tech guy who gets killed at some point.
Yeah,
and then he's up against Amber gets put in there as well, the woman who hates it, who doesn't help him, sort of thing, whatever. He then gets up against various hunters. So we have Sub-Zero, Dynamo, Buzzsaw, I think are the three he goes up against. He takes all out. They're quite burly, but they're a bit chunky. They're not particularly burly. I mean, Buzzsaw's quite burly. I think then, does Fireball go in? Fireball goes in.
Fireball, he goes in.
And then finally, does Captain Fantastic? What's his name? I can't remember.
It's Captain something, isn't it?
It's Captain whatever his name, sort of thing. But anyway, the Richards, they fight their way out. They manage to sort of pick up this signal. It's all a bit like, they tend to outwit stuff and then they end up back in the studio and they're out. In terms of Burl, there's that beginning bit, like I said, where he comes out the shower and he's massive and he's and then he puts on the thing. But I don't think there's much in this, really.
No.
I don't think this is a particularly burly film. I think it's undercut by the outfit.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Which is not a burly outfit. That's not a burl outfit. It's a yellow unitard. It's just a little big one piece thing that he's just got on. And I'm like, what's he wearing? And I'm like, and they're all wearing it. They all look a bit silly. The hunters are a bit camp.
Yeah,
so
they are.
It does all feel like it's all a bit camp, sort of thing, from the sort of intro and stuff. I like what they've done, and it's not a particularly burly film. So there's some burly aspects. He's big. Some of the fighting and stuff, obviously close combat things and like that, and turning the buzzsaw's blade. But then it's undercut with quips.
Yep. Again,
this is quip heavy. This one. So I don't think this particularly burly. I was looking for the burl, thinking like, where is it? But it's not. I mean, it's got Mick Fleetwood in it, the most unburliest man alive. And Dweezil Zappa. These aren't burly characters. They're not.
Dweezil's not a burly name.
Yaphet Kotto. He's not a burly guy.
No,
these aren't burly people. It's not a particularly. I think I always thought that he's a bit miscast in this because because of what the film needed. But maybe he's bigger. I don't know. But to me, this is a 4 because I didn't think it was particularly burly.
No, I'd agree with you. I think it's very low on burl. This, I mean, he is a burly guy for some of it, but for principally most of it, he's not. He's actually a pretty weak guy in many respects. He sort of becomes burly at a certain point. He just sort of suddenly becomes burly again. But he's not really. And also, considering his mission, once he escapes prison, is to try and blend in and get on an aeroplane, it is obvious who he is. He's Ben Richards, for goodness sake. He's the butcher of Bakersfield. Nobody out there would not recognise him because they've seen footage of him that they had, which is part of the reason why he's trying to run away. Anyway, so what burly things really happen? Apart from the fights with the hunter people in there, which they're not really great fights. The Sub-Zero one's pretty crap. Dynamo's over with pretty quick because he drives his his stupid car and tips it over, doesn't he? And then he doesn't even kill him. He lets him, he dies later on by being electrocuted when he's trying to have his way with the woman in it.
Yeah, Amber.
And with his massive weird man underpants on. He's not burly. He's a big fat idiot. So it's just not the characters are not burly. They're camp, and even his character is sort of played in a campy kind of way. Albeit that they try and macho it out a little bit, but even the game show host is a pretty camp character. All the characters that surround it are kind of that way. The only guy that's in it that isn't particularly camp in that way, aside from obviously Schwarzenegger a little bit, is the security guard. That's the same guy that plays the guy in Conan the Barbarian, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Sven-Ole Thorsen. I was looking.
Exactly.
He's in 8 of these films. Schwarzenegger films.
He's in Raw Deal, isn't he? As well, he plays a little bit part in that. But anyway, so aside from him, who's always a kind of burly character, but he chooses not to be burly in this. He steps aside from the burl, doesn't he? And they actually don't. The burly moments in this are all contrived burly moments because even the big fight at the end where they kill Schwarzenegger, which is I think the only film where you see Schwarzenegger die is The Running Man out of all of the Schwarzenegger movies. He isn't actually him. It's it's make believe. Nowadays, of course, and it's probably close to what AI and things would actually do in that situation. They probably could even do that now. But in reality, it's not very burly, and nothing burly happens. And it turns out that the biggest burly thing in it is actually make believe burl anyway, because we know what happened to Whitman, Price, and Haddad, and it wasn't that they lived a burly life. Nothing good happened to them. No. So I'd say this was a 3. Did you put a 3? I'd say a 3.
I'd go 3. I can drop it to a 3. I said 4, but you've convinced me to a 3.
I think a 3 for that.
Yeah. So. Oof. Anyway, 1988. And we're back with Stallone. This is Rambo 3, Graham.
Oh, dear. Well, obviously, it's the sequel to Rambo First Blood Part 2. Notice they've dropped the First Blood now. The First Blood part's gone. We're just Rambo. We're all Rambo now.
It's just Rambo,
Settled into a peaceful life. Peaceful? At a Thai monastery. Okay. Rambo refuses when Colonel Troutman asks him to support Afghan rebels against Soviet forces. When Troutman is captured by a ruthless Soviet colonel, Rambo travels alone into Soviet-occupied Afghanistan to rescue his friend. Aided by local Mujahideen fighters and a young boy, he assaults a heavily defended mountain base in a rescue that escalates into full-scale battle. Now, there's a few things. This film hasn't dated very well. Its politics is all over the place. Okay, we'll say that, and we're going to just part that to one side. Okay, we're not here to talk about the politics of Rambo 3. This is a Burly film in the sense, but it's Burly by violence. This was the most violent Rambo movie up until the more recent ones came along. And this was by far one of the most violent movies in terms of people seen shot to death and murdered on the screen by miles. This had quite a lot of one-man army deaths in it. There's lots of murder in this movie. It's a very violent film. And that, I think, takes away from its burliness a bit. Rambo is quite burly in this, but more of a lean Rambo. It has an amazing, because this is a film, again, of two directors. This is the tale of when films and film things go wrong. So obviously this was originally scheduled to be directed by the guy that made the Reflex video, wasn't it? And he made the Highlander movies. And this was Russell the first part of this. So the first 15 minutes of this are Russell Mulcahy. The stick fight bit and all that stick fight bit at the beginning, that is all Russell Mulcahy. That's the bit he directed. And then he was removed off this and it was given to a more stable director that could control things. And I think part of the problem, and I'm only going by what I've read, is that Russell Mulcahy had quite a bad drink problem and had several problems, and he was just basically uncontrollable, and he winged it a lot. Nobody really knew what the hell was going to be filmed, what was happening, and it was escalating out of all control. And so they brought somebody in to basically finish the film off because he became unmanageable. So the latter half of the film, after the stick fight bit and that part is somebody else. And I think it might be George Picos Mars, but it's a safer pair of hands.
I think it is. Yeah.
So I think that's when the sort of film goes to be in the more traditional sense of a Rambo movie. But all they really did was just have Troutman in a silly situation and then Rambo just murder his way to him and murder his way out. And anybody that gets in the way, whomever they happen to be aligned with, is going to be brutally murdered, gunned down, shot, stabbed, whatever. It's just that. So all of that notion of what made Rambo about a guy who was been double-crossed and he was getting his revenge on the system and the machines that enabled that to happen and the treacherous scumbags. This one kind of elides all of that. He's fighting a cause that you don't really believe in, and it's aligned to something that wouldn't really... he's going to rescue Troutman. That's what his mission is. The side mission on that is to kill everybody that gets in the way, which is what he does. And almost to the man, very brutally, to the point when he spends a significant proportion of this film in tunnels underground, murdering his way to, from A to B. And I don't think that makes this burly. He is quite burly in physicality because he's Rambo, but the situation he's in is just... It's almost like a Rambo serial killer movie. It's almost like a Rambo slasher movie, this. And because of that, it doesn't hold together as well as other Rambo movies do. And it's something that sort of comes back, because the film that comes after this one is another one where it's sort of, they just upped the ante on the blood and violence and murder, and they made that the thing that Rambo did. That was never what Rambo was about. Rambo wasn't the guy that just went off and murdered loads of people, but he does in this, and it's on a scale, I think it's in the hundreds in this. It's crazy. I think it's written somewhere, there was a murder or a horrific Rambo-based death or a Rambo-induced death, and I think there's one every so many minutes in Rambo 3. So I think that detracts from the burliness. It's not a very burly story. The enemies in it aren't particularly burly. He doesn't have lots of burly things to fight. He just kills everybody equally. And it just in every, mostly with knives and machine guns and stabbing weapons, knives and stabbing weapons. And I don't think that makes this film burly. I think it just makes it murderous. And for that, it detracts. So I actually put this as a 4, because I don't think it's the burly film. I think it's a very murderous film. But that's me. What did you think?
I can see your point. I think there's some, I don't know, because I'm trying to sort of think I get what you're saying, sort of thing, in the fact of whereas the second film was ultra burl, this feels more tonally murderous. And I get that. And it's not about the burl. Whereas because I think the second one in the mid 80s, where it was like, it just come off, about Rocky IV and stuff like that, it was massive. So yeah, I see what you're saying with this. Yeah, and I think I did enjoy this more watching it. I was thinking, okay, this is actually okay, but in terms of burl, I mean, there's the torture sequence. There's another torture sequence in this, isn't there? And,
there is,
and things like that. His use of the knife. Did he rip out a There's a bit where he pulls out a sort of a metal window sort of frame thing. That's quite burly to sort of pull it. Just kicks it out and pulls it out. That's
it does
quite
have
burly.
acts of strength, but I think they're just they're done by these random acts of violence, which just everywhere.
Yeah, and also, is it quite burly as well to face off against an entire army of helicopters and tanks and stuff in front of you? That's quite burly just to go. Yeah. And actually, that's the one point where there's a quip and it actually works because he goes, I suppose surrounding him's out of the question, which Troutman sort of responds, "This is a strange time to get funny," or whatever he says. I think that works quite well because it's done in that kind of really sort of deadpan way. I thought actually that's quite a nice little bit. And then they just go, "Oh, fuck it, we'll just kill them all." And then they just, and then the Mujahideen turn up and it turns to this crazy final battle sort of thing where he drives it. He ends up. I think it's quite burly to drive a tank into a helicopter.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there is that. Yeah, that does rate it up slightly, maybe, but yeah.
So I would put it as I'd put it as a 5. I think I get your point.
I'll go with a 5.
But I think there's some burly moments in this which I think are like crazy burly. But for me, a 5 would be fair, I think, for this.
Yeah. Okay, 5 it is. Yeah, Rambo 3 gets a 5. Weird. Rambo 2 scored a much higher score. It just shows you though that you can't just up the violence and means that it's more burly. Yeah, it's because it's not about that.
No, it's not. We're proving it with science.
Yeah, real science.
Objective measuring techniques.
Exactly. You can't write words, but you can't have everything.
Can't, no. Anyway, we're back with Schwarzenegger for the next couple. He had a couple of films out in 1988. The first of those was Red Heat.
Okay.
Rigid Moscow police captain Ivan Danko. It's a bit close to Ivan Drago, isn't it?
It is a bit.
Is sent to Chicago to extradite Victor Rostoville, a drug kingpin who murdered his partner, but the criminal escapes during a botched handover. Ordered to work with wisecracking local detective Art Ridzig, Jim Belushi, the mismatched pair track Rostoville and his cross-border cocaine operation. Their clashing styles generate friction even as the case turns deadly and they close in for a climactic pursuit. So we're back in police procedural, but with a Russian twist. It does omit the fact that a drug kingpin who murdered his partner after Schwarzenegger had killed his brother.
Yeah, forget about that bit conveniently.
Yeah, but so I can understand why he killed. And it's only his partner, but I think killing his brother is worse.
I would say so.
And there's an interesting bit at the beginning, sort of thing, where they kind of the saying sort of like you just come for all Georgian people. There's a kind of interest, that's kind of like this is like the old days and stuff like that. But anyway. In terms of burl, all the burl I think in this film happens in the first 5 minutes.
Yes.
In the sauna sequence.
Yep.
And the fight at that sort of happens outside. So the film starts with I think it's his partner walking into basically a Russian open sex sauna. So there's naked men, there's naked women, there's people just doing massive bicep curls. For no reason.
That sentence. Yeah, true. Just doing the curls, getting a pump.
Huge
getting a pump
bicep curls.
Getting a pump on.
And they're just doing these massive curls. And there's just huge, massive, bulky men in. I don't know what even they're wearing. I don't know what you call it. It's like a groin flannel. I don't know what.
That's the name. That's the name now. That's what we're calling it. It's the groin flannel.
What else? What is that? It's not. What is it? It's just a flappy flannel.
It's a groin cloth.
Yeah, it's like, what is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
So we're treated to Schwarzenegger's pretty much sort of naked body from the back. He's very burly. He's very big. He's very robotic almost. Whatever muscular, it is. Like you said, rigid Moscow police captain. He really is. He doesn't. I don't think he bends in this film. And so then there's a sequence where he then just some guy tries to make him hold this hot coal where he just doesn't flinch and he just smashes him through a window with one punch into the snow. Does. And then Sven-Ole Thorsen jumps out as well, and they have a really. It's not a very good fight, but it's burly from the fact that they're all massive with groin flannels on in the snow.
That is a very burly thing to say.
So,
when you say it out loud, groin flannels in the snow. There's a Christmas song that people don't sing enough these days, I don't think.
They don't. They really don't. And so he finds out where he is. He goes and he shoots his brother. There's a chase sequence. He gets to America somehow. The
Yeah,
bad
just
guy
does. That's
just
what he
does.
does.
He
He
says,
just
"Oh,
gets
he
there.
skipped the country." Oh, okay.
Yep.
So they send him over to, and he gets picked up. To get him extradited, but there's a fight. But then when he gets there, he wears nothing. Well, for most of the sort of early part of the film, he's just in this massive US, Russian police outfit.
Yep.
And then he does then. He gets his suits back on. He just doesn't look. It's right. It's not. He's too big for suits. And then there's not much burl after that. It's more of a police procedural as they track him down. There's maybe a burly bit where they drive buses at each other. That's quite a crazy burly thing to do in context. But he spits out and then he just shoots him. And it's like, oh, that's that over with. And then it has a really, really weird ending shot where for some reason it jump cuts to him saluting in Red Square. But it's like the beginning of 2001, where the thing's coming down, falling from the sky, and it jump cuts to the space station. It just jump cuts to because he goes to salute him in the airport, doesn't he? And suddenly he's in Red Square. Like, what's going on? But no, I really lack of burl in this, apart from that opening sequence. But that opening sequence is so burly.
It is
that it sucks the burl out the rest of the film. It's like a burl vacuum, and then it just pulls it all into that sequence. And so for that opening sequence, I would have to give this film at least a 6 because the opening sequence is the most burliest sequence of anything we've seen, and so that's where I'd sit on this because it's so goddamn burly.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I mean, that beginning bit is all burl, and then there's nothing, is there, after that? It's just kind of never quite gets that burly again. It uses its burl supply very early.
It's the flip of over the top.
It is exactly that, yeah, it is. And what did you say? You gave it a 6, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say a 6, because it is, there's moments of burl, and it's the context of it is quite burly, and then it's again, we're going back to that kind of Russia-America thing. So I'd say a 6 I had it down as a 5 because I for that exact reason, because it was half burl, half not. But I think a 6 because there is a leaning of the burl in it is quite burly, and like you said, groin cloths in the snow or whatever it was you said.
Groin flannels,
groin flannels, and a lot of them, and lots of burl in them opening sequence. It's hard to unburl yourself after that. You're probably quite testosterone loaded, aren't you? So yeah, I'd say a 6 for that is a good call. So yeah.
Yeah.
There is a lot of burl to it.
Massive. Unlike the next one, this one's over to you because it's twins. Same with Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. So Julius and Vincent Benedict are the unlikely products of a secret genetic experiment, separated at birth. The imposing, naive, highly educated Julius seeks out his long-lost brother, only to find Vincent is a short, cynical, small-time crook mired in debt. When Vincent stumbles onto a scheme involving stolen goods worth millions, the mismatched brothers set off across country to deliver the loot and search for their birth mother. So I think this is crap, honestly, twins. I never liked it originally. I didn't like it now. On the rewatch, just proved that I was right. It's horribly annoying in terms of its sounds and the way it looks. Schwarzenegger is big in it, but only because that's the thing. That's it. Is the joke here is that, and it runs out of steam. That joke within 30 seconds of the film, and that's all this film's got is that. Everything else is an afterthought. Everything. The performance is crap. Danny DeVito's is good because he's always watchable in whatever he's in, but he can't save this dog egg from being what it is. It's awful, awful film, and there's no burl in it. Schwarzenegger's big in it. He's big. He's a big fella, and they sort of joke about that a little bit, and that's the kind of the running joke, like I said. But it runs out of steam 2 seconds in, and there's nothing burly in it. In fact, if anything, it's the opposite. It goes down the road of being it tries to be less burly all the way through. Tries to bring in some kind of schmaltz, and it tries to be a bit thinky and a bit touchy-feely, and it's just not. It's not at all, and it's not very funny either. That's the killer blow to this. You could have made up with the burl by being quite funny. It doesn't. So I mean, if I could score it 0, I would. But this is a 1 because it's just there's nothing burly in it. Schwarzenegger is a big fella, but even that is not the reason why he's in this. He's in this because he is the big compared to the other guy that's small. That was the one. Let's have a big guy and a small guy. That'd be hilarious. Nobody thought of anything after that, did they? It's all an afterthought. 1. Bloody rubbish, that film.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. I would say there are some burly moments in it. There's that bit where there's the sequences wherever he sort of protects Julius. Oh, sorry, Vic. What's his name? Vincent. Yeah, but so when he gets attacked and stuff, and he just smacks that guy into the lift. When he takes the 2 guys out in the nightclub bit where they've got the guns at the thing, there's a couple of burly moments, but aside from that, it's not played for burl, is it? It's not.
No, it's not a film about burliness. It's a film about the opposite of burliness.
Yeah,
about the difference between being burly. So that's why I think it's a 1.
Yeah, okay. No arguments there, really. All right, okay, 2 left, and they're both Stallone films. So 1989. So yeah, just Schwarzenegger wouldn't release another film, I think, until Total Recall 1990.
Yep.
His next one. That's
Which is
out
pretty
of the
burly.
remit.
It's a burly comeback, but it's out of the scope.
That's out of the remit. This is Lockup. Frank Leone, a model prisoner nearing release, is vindictively transferred to the brutal maximum security Gateway prison. The movie is orchestrated by sadistic warden Drumgoole, who bears a personal grudge over a past incident that damaged his career. Determined to break Leone and extend his sentence, Drumgoole subjects him to escalating abuse, and Leone must hold on to his integrity if he's ever to walk free. Okay, so the film starts weirdly in that he's outside. He's on day release or something.
Yeah, I think so.
He's on day release, so you don't actually know he's in prison. You never really find out.
Because he's nearing release, isn't he? So
he's nearing release at this minimum security prison. He goes back in and everything's all right. Then in the night, he gets manacled out, handcuffed out, and dragged to this horrible, maximum security prison where he's got 6 months left of his sentence, whatever, and they're going to make it hell for him to try and sort of break him and make him go crazy and, try and, because this warden played by Donald Sutherland wants revenge on him because he escaped from the prison he was in originally, I think is the thing. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what he did. I can't remember what actually crime he committed to get into prison, but this Warden Drumgoole is a horror show, and he escaped from there to prove that what he was doing was really bad, which ended up with him being at this shitty prison. And so he blames Stallone's character for all his, what's gone wrong in his life. Stallone plays a kind of, it's almost like over the top kind of character. Same kind of thing. He's a reticent hero. He doesn't want to be the thing. He just wants to see his time out, and he tries to sort of talk everyone down, just see the good in people. But he's when he gets to this prison, Sonny, what's his face? Sonny Landham, is it? Is the sort of the warden sort of man on the inside? Is the warden's kind of thug, should we say, on the inside, who constantly baits him and tries to sort of beat him down and everything like that. And there's an American football match, but they end up building this car, and he's got this friend. This young guy who's new to prison. He's trying to sort of look after him, but he ends up getting murdered, and then they threaten his wife, who's on the outside, which leads to him trying to escape, and he's getting abused by the guards. It's a very much a sort of trying to break this character's down and make him react in a violent way, so they can say, oh, he's violent and he needs to be in prison for longer, and what a sort of thing, yada yada. So what that turns into is this. It's not. I don't think it's a particularly burly film. There's not much in it.
No.
It's a bit. It's a bit by the numbers. Just try and be mean to a prisoner type film, which there's loads of these kind of things, and the evil warden and what have you sort of thing. And it never delivers any real burl. Stallone is quite sedate in it until the very end, when he sort of threatens the warden and he sort of to get him this confession out of him and that. Sort of, but there's the guards are all a bit overweight and fat, and they're not particularly, they're threatening because of what they are. The guards and the thing, and they've got the power and everything like that. There's no real burl in this. I thought this was burlless. So I couldn't really take much burl from this. This Stallone is Stallone. So when I think when you do see his body a little bit, sort of thing, he's still chunky and he's still muscly and everything like that. I was trying to look for it, and I was like, well, just feels a bit run of the mill. It's like any kind of film. It's loads of these, but it just happens to have Stallone in it. I don't know. Put another character in this, and you won't really notice a difference. It doesn't feel like a Stallone movie. It's not Stallone being Stallone. It's just a prison guy in a prison getting broken until he can't take no more and snaps and trying to sort of write it out. No, I didn't think much to this, and I didn't think it was particularly burly. I give it a 2 at best, maybe even a 1. But what about you?
No, I didn't think it was very burly. There's that fight in the gym, isn't there, where he, kills that guy in there with the weights and that. But other than that, it's not a film about its burless, is it? It's not. It's it's a weird inverse revenge movie of a sort. It's more of one of those kind of injustice movies. And very much a weird, almost sort of peculiar take on the Shawshank Redemption type idea. Guy in prison, nearly on his way out. Vicious, sadistic warden. Very much, there's it's similarly sort of way that they played a lot of the late 70s movies. You think of things like Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood, and that's got that the warden, and that's kind of got a psychotic nature. And then even in daft films like The Mean Machine, the warden's got psychotic nature in that. Yeah. And there's a few films where the warden of the prison is seen as a bit of a nutcase, and so it's kind of riffing on that. but that doesn't mean it's burly. In fact, I'd say like you, I actually had this as a 1 because I couldn't find any burl in it. It's not a film about that.
No.
So it's just, it's burl free, really, and nothing burly happens in it. There's a fight in a gym.
Burl free. Free as the
Burl
wind
free.
blows.
Burl free. As free as the wind blows.
Yeah, there's not much burl in lockup. That's burless. Which brings us to our last film. And this is Tango and Cash.
Yes, Raymond, Tango, and Gabriel Cash. Jeez. Los Angeles narcotics detectives and bitter rivals, each convinced he's the city's best cop, who have never met until a crime lord they've been bleeding dry decides to destroy them. Rather than kill them, drug boss Yves Perret frames the pair for the murder of an undercover agent, and fabricated evidence lands them in a maximum security prison full of criminals they helped put away. Breaking out to clear their names, the mismatched duo are forced to work together, tracing the frame-up back through the witness who set them up. The trail leads to Perret's fortified hideout for a final showdown, with Tango's sister Kiki caught in the middle. So this is buddy cop movie, I guess, but in a kind of weird twist that they're both, framed for something. So that was the twist, wasn't it? I think we've had Lethal Weapons by now. So
yeah.
So the buddy cop thing was becoming a thing. They hadn't done one, or at least Stallone hadn't done one officially at this point, had he really? So, and this is Cash, Tango
Red
Cash,
Heat, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's it is, and he's buddied up with
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell's a great actor, but he ain't burly, and he isn't played for burliness in this either. Stallone, he's just kind of he wears glasses for goodness sake. He's kind of smart, suited, a very designery suits, very 80s, very late 80s kind of modus to this film. And burly stuff, truck stuff happens, and there's burly things that occur in it-ish, but they're not really burly on account of the characters. They're just sort of situations that don't require burl. They're just big vehicles, or there's a big thing that's going to happen. So there's more action-ish stuff, but it'd be like trying to argue that Lethal Weapon's quite a burly movie, and it's not really. So I think Tango Cash is a kind of a bit of a take on the buddy thing. It is the Red Heat, his version of Red Heat in that way. So fish out of water a little bit. The two cops end up in prison. They break out in really easily as well. And then they're just kind of on the run, and they're inconspicuous by being conspicuous. Nobody, they just seem to be not seen by anybody, in spite of the fact that they're pretty obvious what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I just thought that this story descends into stupidity quite quickly, actually. And the one-liners that are meant to be delivered don't really land for anybody. And it just doesn't work. And in actuality, what you end up with is two fairly unlikable characters, not really getting along and not really likable either. So you don't really find yourself rooting for either of them, which means that you've got no skin in the game when you're watching the film. You just think, I don't care whether they get out or not. I don't really care about these characters. It's a lesson they learn for buddy anything, that they need to actually be kind of friends at a certain point. And they sort of try and do that in this, but it doesn't really work. It was a bit like Top Gun in that respect. They're not really that friendly to each other for the whole of the film, which means that the payoff at the end when they're sort of friendly to each other doesn't really work, because they're just not that friendly anyway. You just figure out they're just not really going to get along. So I thought it isn't really burly. Again, I'd put this lower. I didn't really encounter much burl in this, other than there's some biggish people in it. But I wouldn't say that they're at their biggest and they're not at their burliest, and nothing really that burly happens in it, if I'm honest. So I thought this was 1. But
another 1.
I'm wrong. I didn't see the burl. I didn't see a lot of burl. Maybe it's a 2, but
yeah. I mean, I think what's the bit in it? I think that I don't know. It depends whether you can't count. Yeah, like you said, it's all the action. I did quite like I thought the fight where they decide to actually take everyone on in the prison and have the fight. They get overcome, but I think that was quite a burly thing to do. It's like, your confidence is that we'll just take them, we'll just fight our way out.
Burly choice, but I don't think it's not a statement of their burliness to do that. It's just it's just a stupid plot point, really. But yeah, I can see it. I can maybe go with it. So it is burly-ish. It's burlesque.
Right. It's burlesque, yeah. No, I can go with a 1, but yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a particularly burly film by this point. I think they've moved out of sort of trying to be burly, because I mean, don't forget, straight after this, Stallone moves into things like, what's he doing then? Things
Stop
like
on
Stop
My
on My Mama Shoot, Oscar,
shit
like
exactly.
that.
And it starts to get crap, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he comes back later on with things like Specialists and Assassins or whatever, but by this point,
Demolition Man.
things like that, which is quite burly, I suppose. But at this point, Yeah, this is just, it falls into, it wants to be, I mean, it's the bit at the beginning where he shoots the guys out the truck and just stands there. Is that Burly?
That's what I say. Yeah, that's what I said. So there is that bit with the big vehicles, but I don't know that it's Burly because of that. It'd be Burly if he lifted the truck up in some way or pulled the door off or something.
Yeah,
maybe give it a 2. Maybe give it a 2. Maybe for that sequence because I suppose it's quite bold.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Okay. Well, if we give that a 2,
yes,
the scores on the doors at the end of this, if we give that a 2,
don't tell me they're even. That's a nightmare if they work out even.
Schwarzenegger's on 49.
Yeah.
Stallone's on 50, giving that a 2. If we'd have given it a 1, they would have drawn.
Oh my God, no. That is mental. That's absolutely mental. So we'd have come out of this neither burly or unburly. That's a terrible thing.
No, we're mid-burl. It's all mid-burl.
It's mad. But yeah, I suppose then, well, the winner then by 1 point is Stallone, which is odd. It just shows you that all that extra money and money made didn't make it any more burly. It made it more burly by 1.
And ironically, the least burly film of Schwarzenegger's was his biggest grosser. Huh. Twins made $216 million. His closest behind that was Predator on $98 million.
That shows you the sign of the times shifting a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, but Tango and Cash made 120, but that was a $55 million budget.
I think what this sort of elides, though, this map that we have, is it elides the sheer quantity of knockoff films of those genres, of which there are loads. So we're focusing on the big ones. You know, we're focusing on the Rambos and the Predators, but what we're not looking at is the Delta Forces 1, 2, and 3, and American Ninja 1, 2, 3, 4. There's so many of those the
Barbarians,
straight to video action variations. So these films are these set the benchmarks, but there's so many of the others that by the time we get to Twins in 1988, there's been about 1 million of those copycat movies, which have fatigued people, and the language of those films has got so boring that Twins, no wonder it makes money, because people were ready for something that wasn't any of those things, because there was that many of the damn things.
And I think that's the thing we said about, in my introduction, when I said that the 80s was greed and individualism, was, trying to get on up and, seeing films like Wall Street and stuff like that. You can see that kind of change as we get, towards the end, like Red Heat and Twins, the last films of Schwarzenegger. And it's sort of buddy films. He's changed to sort of antics. Tango and Cash is the last thing about. Lockup is more of about a man being wronged and stuff. But he again teams up is in there with a team and stuff. He's trying to bring other people in. I think Rambo 3. I think is the nadir, or not the nadir, but it's the end point. I mean, it made a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but it's the end point. But it didn't make as much as Rambo. First Blood Part 2 made 300 million to 189 million. Rambo 3. So the character still had draw, but clearly not as much draw, considering ticket prices would have been up and everything like that. So I think you can see the sort of arc of the 80s. By the mid 80s, you've got this montage, stupidity happening with things like Commando, Rocky 4 and things like that, and the over the topness of Cobra. But by the end of it, like you said, people were fatigued. There was nothing. Wanted something different.
They were.
And I think films like Lethal Weapon changed, Lethal Weapon 2 especially. Those came in, and your Die Hards, and they came in and changed the mold of what an action hero was. Yeah,
absolutely. And then remember also in the background somewhere amongst this, like you've got your Steven Seagal movies, and you've got your Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, which is sort of creep in a bit. I think more late 80s, but still, yeah, exactly. So the action hero, and of course in amongst this Die Hards in there somewhere, and all of that.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
So the template for this was being set. These two were arguably making the most noise in the cinema. Doesn't mean that they were by any stretch of the imagination the vanguards of this. I think maybe they were the vanguards, but I think they weren't the final word. And I think that was probably why they shifted emphasis so much. They were clearly following each other in terms of film thematics and scripts. I think somebody's written a script, and then it went to Stallone first, and then he was like, let's make that. And then all of a sudden Schwarzenegger was making a very similar film. For a little while that happened, I think. And then it kind of eased off a bit. But these guys were still making movies. And I think probably if you went to the 90s version of this, you'd find Schwarzenegger was kind of ruling the roost with his action movies in the 90s.
Schwarzenegger comes into his own with the 90s. I was thinking of Total Recall, Terminator 2. I mean, Last Action Hero was a bomb, but then True Lies was a big one. But then his later stuff, Sixth Day, End of Days.
Yeah, all a bit weird, yeah. They're a bit strange, them lot.
Yeah, but then Stallone was what 90s films of Stallone? Like I said, I was trying to think. Judge Dredd,
Judge
Demolition
Dredd,
Man,
Demolition Man,
The Specialist.
Until he came back with, he did Assassins, and then he came back with, he went back to Rocky and back to Rambo, didn't he?
Well, Rocky V was 1990. That was his next film.
Terrible, though. I think
exactly.
he openly admits he hates that movie.
I think what you see here is that there's kind of struggling. Schwarzenegger made some smart moves with things like Total Recall and stuff and take him into the 90s. But I think Stallone at this point is really struggling to find where he is. So, does stuff like Judge Dredd, which he was totally miscast for, arguing, I've got to take my helmet off and everything. It's like, well, fucking Judge Dredd as far as I'm concerned. A lot of angry fans. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, which,
as an aside for all of this, by the way, so these, out of the 20 films, some of them had games, some of them had C64 games, and some of them didn't. And I thought it'd be interesting for us to just quickly touch on that.
Okay.
So I'll just read them off. These aren't in the year of release. These are just in the list of the films that we have them. So Conan the Barbarian, that had a C64 game, though it wasn't based on Conan the Barbarian film. It was based on Conan, the character, because it used the same logo. And there's two variations of that. The Terminator had a game, but that was on another platform. There was no C64 game of the Terminator. Terminator 2 there was, but not the Terminator. Commando, of course, had a game, but it was not based on anything to do with the film. It was predated all of that. So that was, that was the Commando game. And that, of course, had a C64 game as well. Predator, though, that did have a C64 game license and across all the platforms. So did the Running Man, and so did Red Heat. So Schwarzenegger gets quite a good innings there. Sylvester Stallone, though, we've got Rocky III has a really weird.
Well, there's the Rocky games. They came later.
Yeah, so they came later. So there's a game, but not on a C64. They're sort of weird games.
Yeah,
but there is Rocky III.
Good fighting game that was actually on the GameCube.
Then Rambo, of course, First Blood Part 2 has a game, which is a classic on the C64. Certainly with the music. Anyway, Cobra had a game, of course, C64. Over the Top has a C64 game, believe it or not, but it's not tied into that license, and it is an arm wrestling game. Yeah. It's really weird, though. It looks really odd, but it's nothing to do with the film. But there is an over-the-top arm wrestling game on the C64 randomly.
Wow, okay.
Rambo 3 obviously had a C64 game, and it's the only game out of the entire list that had an actual arcade license for it, which is Rambo 3.
Oh, weird.
And that was it. So out of all of the licensed films, by quite a way, Schwarzenegger has the more licensed adaptations to film to game. So, and there you go. Interesting.
Interesting.
At least on the C64 anyway, and other platforms are available, of course.
What's he got on what actual proper conversions, proper versions of the film?
Because Ready, Running Man, Predator, there's 3, whereas you've got Cobra and Rambo. I suppose you've got Rambo 3, so maybe there's 3 each, actually.
There's 3 each, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you've got Conan, I suppose. You can argue that.
But it's nothing to do with the film, is it? It's just a character.
Just
and it was all purple, I seem to remember.
Well, but it does use the Conan logo from the film, strangely enough. And some of the imagery on the box.
yeah, probably Brown to tie into that. Weird.
Well, there you go. That's just thought it was a little interesting. So I thought there'd be more arcade games based on those. I don't know why I thought there would be. I thought there'd been a Predator arcade game. And there is an Aliens versus Predator Capcom type game, but there isn't an actual Predator game on the arcades. I just thought there'd be more arcade type games of that.
I'm shocked.
I suppose you could argue that Ikari Warriors might be more of a Rambo-y type. I don't know. Maybe there's a bit of that.
I'm shocked. When we thinking back on it now, I'm actually quite shocked there was no Rocky boxing game.
Yeah, no, there's boxing games, but no Rocky one.
Yeah, could have just taken the Barry McGuigan engine and just reskinned it.
Yeah, you could have, but I'm glad they didn't, because you can imagine what that'd have been like. Well, if it was Barry McGuigan's, it might have been all right, but they'd have done it like the stupid 3D one. Yeah, they'd done it like Frank Bruno's, and it wouldn't have been good.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, you could have Rocky 3, I suppose, as you worked your way through up to Clubber Lang.
Yeah, but you'd never beat Clubber Lang, would you? Well, maybe you would, I don't know. Maybe you have to find a way. No. But I just thought that was interesting that there was, some games released for that. I don't know, was Rambo 3 in the C64 about the film? I suppose it was.
Just before we finish, on this kind of note sort of thing, if you were a game designer at the time or whenever sort of thing, and you were tasked, and I'm going to put this, if you were tasked with, make $216 million, people like it. We want a Twins game.
Oh God!
What would you do?
I'd have done that as probably a point and click.
Okay.
Because you could have captured maybe some of the humor in a point and click, and maybe had some spot fights or something like that. If it was Ocean doing it, they'd have had them running over barrels and running over crates in a warehouse.
I would have done it like the Goonies.
Yeah, you could do it like that. Yeah,
Because you've got big and small. So you've got big brawny guy who needs to lift up things while the little guy creeps through.
Yeah, like Bruce
tunnels
Lee.
And stuff.
Yeah.
But puzzly type stuff.
Yeah, because they did Bruce Lee, didn't they? The same company did the Bruce Lee game, and that would line itself up. You could just change the characters out, really, couldn't you?
Yeah, so I think if you did Goonies, I think you could probably do that as a kind of little puzzly, the further adventures of Julius and Vincent.
Yep, yeah. I mean, the games in that list that could have and should have been better. Running Man should have had a better game by miles, considering it's based on a game.
And
Predator Ready should have had legs, shouldn't it? They didn't have any legs in it.
The legless game.
Yeah.
It's probably because they couldn't animate the groin flannels.
Yeah. Dude, the flap of the flannel was never something they could capture. And actually,
Cobra
I think out of all of those, the best tie-in is probably Rambo out of all of that.
Yeah. At least it tried to be like Rambo.
Yeah, it features Rambo iconography. It's about the same thing as Rambo, and it's got the same soundtrack and idea as Rambo. So it's more Rambo-y than any of the others.
Yeah, there we go. Wow. So Stallone wins by 1 point.
Crazy.
Stallone is the king of the 80s Burl. We proved it.
By a single point. Yeah, we proved it in tests. We did.
It was a close one, but, made a lot more money, but only won the Burl contest by 1 point. Well, that was quite a long episode. Thought it might be, but there you go. I hope you've enjoyed that. I've really enjoyed doing that. It was quite a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's fun. There's a lot of films to watch. I'm not sure I ever want to see Ready and a few
No, I think
again.
I'm done. I think I'm kind of done with those films. That was a lot of films to pack in. There was a lot of meat.
Honestly,
I need to watch some salad in a film.
And I was watching. They were burly, weren't they? You can't watch too many after a while because you end up shouting at people and just getting quite angry at things. And telling everybody the mayor's going to chew your ass off, and people are like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I don't know.
Absolutely. And I don't know. I'm just up on my mountain being strong. Leave me be.
Exactly. I just went to the top of the house, just shouted for the Predator, and then cut my pizza with a pair of scissors.
Absolutely. Turn the light on. Why are you walking around with a stick with a bit of cloth on it? You got to burn the house down, you idiot.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Anyway, it was good fun. We'll be back, obviously. If you're on our Patreon, we'll be back. It's going to be in a couple of weeks because July's a weird month. So there's the last Friday in July. So the Patreon exclusive episode is probably going to be the 31st because of the nature of these. And then the next, because this is a long month and we're only doing 2 a month, the next proper episode will then, will be the week after for the Patreon. So that'll be something like the 7th. So the next episode, if you're not a Patreon, will not be until the 10th of August.
Yep.
Because that's the way time works and months are weird sort of thing. But we committed to 2 a month. We've done 2. We have the Patreon exclusive, but because this July is a weird, it's a long old month. It just happens that's what's going to happen. So it'll be a while. But sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/Zapped to the Past, and you'll get that Patreon exclusive episode. There's 2 other Patreon exclusive episodes which you can then listen to as well. A good few hours of content there. And you can do that. You could buy the Ko-fi at ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/Zapped to the Past if you want to contribute that way. Or come and chat on social media, send us messages or whatever. It's up to you. If you've got any feedback on this one, by the way, just let us know, because I think it'll be quite interesting to hear what your thoughts are. Who do you think was the burliest bastard? Do you agree with our ratings? Do you think that we've overlooked some burl in some point in some of these films? We did all watch them all, and we did have a scientific method to our madness. So I don't know. Maybe we're wrong, maybe we're right, but Stallone wins. Sly out Fox's Arnie. There you go. Anything you wish to add, Graham?
No, I think we've burled ourselves out. We've gone through all the burl now.
Yeah.
Go and watch, if you do want to burl yourself, you've got a list of 20 films there. You can soon find them on any of the streaming sites out there. They're all everywhere. Some of them are worth the watch, maybe if you haven't seen them in a while, but I wouldn't rush off. Maybe give it a break between movies. So otherwise you might end up having a burl explosion of your own.
Absolutely. Your cholesterol might go up from all the meat you're ingesting.
We've burled these burls so you don't burl.
Absolutely. It's too much visual meat. It's not good.
This is the equivalent of one of those calzones from that place in Grimsby.
Yeah, we just imbibe dark matter. Oh, good Lord. Right. So on that note, on that heavy note, we will say goodbye and we'll see you again. Well, Patreon, see you in a couple of weeks. If not, a few weeks' time. As ever, I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham. I don't think I'm that burly, Raddings.
And you have been listening to Groin Flannels Flapping. And we will
In
see
the
you again
snow.
in the snow. And we'll see you again in a few weeks' time. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as all the other amazing things we like to talk about, inspired, of course, by our lifelong friendship and journeys through all those fun games, times, TV shows, films, music, and everything in between and beyond. We will, of course, return very soon with another episode to explore more games and other exciting stuff. Until then, if you want to listen to all the previous episodes of the podcast, you can. Just go to our website at zappedtothepast.com and you'll find them all there. Alternatively, you can also find us on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon, Google, all of them. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. We also have a Patreon, which gives you early access to ad-free episodes, instant access to our amazing Discord server, discounts on our zappedtothepast.shop merchandise, a shout-out, and even involvement in the odd episode or two, all for less than the price of a sandwich. Go to patreon.com/zappedtothepast and join in the fun at the C64 tier. We do always like to hear from our listeners, so if you'd like to communicate with us, you can contact us via the website at zappedtothepast.com, email us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com, or find us on all the usual social media platforms. And if you like what we're doing, you can like, share, and write reviews, because it really does help us out. Zapped to the Past is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings, and produced at the legendary Flaky Bits 2.0 studio. All opinions expressed in the podcast are those of the writers, and while we indeed love the Commodore 64 and everything about it, we are not affiliated with any particular Commodore 64 magazine or publication in any way. Stay safe, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.